Well, Justin Marshall and Paul Grayson here with us on commentary for this one. I'm going to run you through the Argentinian lineup now. Starting off at fullback, Juan Cruz Malia continues to wear that 15 jersey. On the wings, it's Buffelli and Carreras. Moving then into the centres, we've got Cinti and Chocobares, and then Santiago Carreras is at 10, with that one change for Argentina, Gonzalo Bertranu at scrum half, as the lights start lighting up all the way around the Stade de France to get ready for this match. Moving into the Argentinian forwards, Thomas Gallo, Julian Montoya and Francisco Gomez Codella, they make up your front row, with Petty and Lavanini in the second row, and then the back row made up of Gonzalo, Kramer and Issa. On the benches for both sides for New Zealand, it's Takiaho, Williams, Newell, Retallick, Papali'i, Christie, McKenzie and Leonard Brown. And then for Argentina, it's Creevy, Scalvi, Bello, Alemano, Bruni, Bazan Velez, Sanchez and Moroni. Those are your two lineups. No one's tinkered too much with their side. No one's been as brave as South Africa has been to name in exactly the same 23 for these semi-finals. And it's all about, Paul Grayson, how much emotion was spent last weekend, but everyone has managed to re-energise for this.
Yeah, and as Justin touched on in the build-up, the emotion that we know that's going to come from Argentina. You've got to hope that they can keep a lid on it. We don't want this game decided by an egregious act of foul play that ruins the spectacle. You've got to keep it under wraps, but bring it at the same time.
Right then, we're about to get underway. The All Blacks and the Pumas are 80 minutes away from the final. One side dreaming of a fifth shot at a fourth title, the other dreaming of their first. Angus Gardner from Australia is our referee, as we are underway now in the first Rugby World Cup semi-final, as the ball comes down inside of All Blacks territory. You are listening to 5 Live, your home of the World Cup in France 2023. Argentina gather the ball on the right-hand side of the field. They're working their way towards the left, and they're inside of the All Blacks half on the 10-metre line. They managed to get the ball away. They're trying to use their centres at the moment just to power away down this left wing. Gathered in the end by Bertranu, the surprise selection at scrum half. No place for Thomas Cabelli at all in this 23, as Argentina now plough away just outside of the All Black 22. Working through a few phases, not 1 minute played just yet as they go down to the floor. Few support lines coming in, particularly from Kramer. He has to go and reset himself round in the back line as they push towards the far side of the field. Still Argentinian ball, as they go in and gather once again by Bertranu. They're just getting over the gain line, but it's quite lateral here from Argentina. They haven't really got any great guns just yet. Comes back now to Carreras. Remember, there's 2 of them on the field. There's the fly half Santiago, and then the Newcastle wing Mateo. Most of the time it will be Carreras to Carreras, just like that, as Mateo now goes into contact, winning his 16th cap today. Short little bit of footwork coming in now by the forwards, as they're now 10 metres inside of New Zealand territory. This is a strong start then by the Pumas. They're starting to make inroads. Here comes the big Leicester hooker, Julian Montoya, captain of the Pumas today. Pushes it back towards the right-hand side of the field. A little dink through by Carreras. Was he blocked? Referee Angus Gardner says no, play on, and we get to see the All Blacks on the attack, trying to get themselves out of their 22 for the first time. Smith is going into the gather the ball. He's not happy with the position to get that one away, so he's just guided a couple of forwards to come in, give a little bit of space there for a Barrett clearance to the far side, but that's not made a lot of space there, Justin Marshall.
No, it certainly has, and that's a very good start from Argentina. 13 phases, they look very fluid to Carreras. Just opted for the 50-50, the grubber through, but it still was enough for them to pin Argentina back, and a poor clearance from Barrett gives them enough opportunity in the right part of the field to launch their assault on this All Black defensive system.
How many?
All Blacks a little bit passive in defence. We saw it against Ireland, didn't we? They gave Ireland a chance to work through their moves and then expose themselves. All Blacks decision-making last week was superb in the breakdown. There, Argentina over the gain line 4 or 5 times. Good clear out from them. Good start.
Are you the receiver?
Argentina 0, New Zealand 0. 2.5 minutes played here at the Stade de France, and it's a line out to Argentina just inside of the All Blacks 22. They've managed to win that line out, and they would have been wary as well, such as the power and the strength the line out has been for New Zealand throughout this World Cup so far. Buffelli goes in, he puts his body on the line. Now it's Montoya, he works forward through the phases. Ardi Sever trying to get over the top, slow down this Argentinian ball, which is the quickest ball, we have to say, of everyone in the semi-finals. There was an arm over the top there by Scott Barrett, but our referee is going to bring this one back for an Argentinian penalty.
Good line out straight off the top from Argentina. Marcus Kremer crashing the ball at first phase. Big man, very powerful. tackle off the ball, as you just heard from the referee, got them on the front foot, worked round the corner, forced the All Blacks to infringe. We'll wait for their decision. I suspect they'll go for goal.
I was happy that your number 5 pushed it into him, which is why I played through. Yeah.
That was Julian Montoya just checking on the decision there of what Angus Gardner wanted, and they pointed straight to the posts.
Their accuracy is so good at the moment, Argentina. The line-out execution was perfect. The All Blacks competed. Sam Whitelock went up, but it was nice at the back of the line-out, taken down by Gonzalez. The charge from Kremer, as Paul mentioned, was really strong over the advantage line, carrying 2 tacklers with them, forced the All Blacks onto their heels defensively. They gave away an unnecessary penalty. What a start this will be for Argentina. They look up for it big time.
Yeah, and Argentina's goal kicking has been pretty good, I have to say, at this World Cup. 85% between their 3 main kickers. It's Boffelli who's taken the majority of them. He's got 16 of 21. And this one, about 70 metres from the far side touch. He's taken it just outside of the 22. As he just leans over, arms resting on the top of his legs as he now straightens up. Works his way forwards towards the ball, and it is Argentina who lead very early on then in this World Cup semi-final. New Zealand 0, Argentina 3.
Argentina couldn't have written it any better than that in their playbook. Got into the All Blacks half, got possession of the ball, maintained it till they forced the All Blacks to infringe. Enough pressure to create a poor exit from New Zealand 3-0.
And Justin, we think back already to the quarterfinals. Ireland turned down opportunities at the post early on to kick for the corner. Argentina not going to make the same mistake.
I don't think they will. You just need to accumulate points, apply pressure and knock out rugby. Make the opposition chase you. When you do good things, make sure you capitalise.
And that could be so vital. It is worth knowing that the All Blacks are into their 9th, as Argentina just dropped their own man on the floor. He's okay. They're going to play on and work their way out of their 22. The All Blacks, this is their 9th World Cup semi-final, and from the previous 8 they have a 50% record. So it is worth saying to Argentina, you've got a 50-50 shot here, right then. Ball comes down towards this near side. Mwanga gathers. He's got Barrett outside of him of the Bowden variety. He puts a high ball up into the air. It's not raining at the moment here at the Stade de France, but it was raining just as the teams went in, as they finished their warm-up. So it will be greasy out there. Comes back down to Argentina. They've taken it back inside of their own 22. It's sent down the park, and Richie Moran actually slipped on the field there, just as we're talking about it being a bit greasy. He runs it up to the halfway. Real short kicking here there from both sides. No one's putting huge height and length on the ball for the time being. Nice bit of a run coming in now by Mateo Carreras. He's really well known for his fancy feet and how he can make something in very small, impossible spaces. As the high ball is put up by the Pumas, they gather it themselves. This is nice. Here comes the 50 capper and Issa. It's taking a lot of time for New Zealand to bring him down. Boffelli now on the ball, and all out of nothing. Argentina back inside of the New Zealand 22, but it doesn't matter. They hold on. They give away the penalty. New Zealand will clear.
Lovely little bit of play in the counter-attack. First of all, by Carreras, Mateo Carreras. Unbelievably powerful and fast lateral movement and speed. Presented the ball, they went to the air. Boffelli won it, got the tap down to Issa. They were on the front foot. Every now and again, you almost do too well. Get a predator like Sam Cane will let you enjoy your 3 or 4 extra yards and then just snaffle the ball.
It was the length of the kick that New Zealand struggled with. Boffelli got up, tapped it back. Issa, an excellent charge. Just got himself slightly isolated because of his leg drive and power. That enabled both Kane and Geordie Barrett to get in over the ball. They presented a good image to the referee. They were on their feet and they got themselves out of the scramble.
Well, this is a line out then to New Zealand, bang on the halfway line. It's Argentina 3, New Zealand 0. 7 minutes on the clock here. We're playing advantage also to New Zealand now, as they're just waiting for the ball to come away. So they've got a free hit there as they're just trying to maul this one away from the position. It's still advantage then to New Zealand. Little dink over the top by Barrett once again. Oh, sliding, a big clash in the face there for New Zealand. I don't know if they're going to go back and look at that just to check that the player's okay. I'm not sure if there's anything malicious in it, but it's a loose ball on the floor. Angus Gardner, our referee, is playing on at the moment, and it's very close to where the Argentinian player is down injured at the moment. It bobbles out towards the far side. So Argentina are currently playing with a man down on the field. Eventually the whistle does go, but that was an awful collision in midfield that I think was an accident from wrong body positions, but we're going to have to wait until we've seen a replay.
Chip over the top from the All Blacks. I think Talea was on the chase. Boffelli coming into cover, totally committed, full sprint as he slid on his knees Talea just collided with him.
Yeah,
it is a rugby incident as far as I'm concerned, but it doesn't look pretty on the replay as Buffelli kind of folded backwards over his knees.
He was always struggling to get to the kick. It was just a little pop over the top from Geordie Barrett. Buffelli was a long way back.
There's nothing in that, boys. Are you okay? You sure?
So you can just see referee Angus Gardner there just explaining that it was just an accident, which it was. Buffelli was struggling to get to it, so by the time he got to the ball was below his chest. And at that stage, he was falling to try and catch it. Talea was there, upright at the time. They just collided. Didn't look too much like it was massive head contact, so he should be okay.
Okay, so Buffelli is still just down on his knees at the moment. He has risen and he's now back on his feet, so he's going to be okay to play on. Also a little bit of treatment going on there to Fasunda Issa as well, as everyone just gets ready to sort themselves out, calm themselves down. It was a penalty originally that came from the line out for New Zealand that was being played advantage for, and it's a pretty strong platform for New Zealand. It's just over the halfway line and we're just waiting. I think the Barrett that's on it at the moment is Geordie, because he's got that slightly longer boot to send it down the near side.
And this is interesting, isn't it? Last week against Ireland, from this zone, Geordie Barrett's more than capable. It's well within his range. They were taking the opportunities to kick threes. Different mindset, different side, different mindset. They've kicked for touch. It's a great kick from Barrett. 15 metres out from the goal line, left-hand side of the field. The All Blacks are on the attack.
Just on that, it's colder at the moment, Paul Grayson. It's a bit wet. Do you think that could be involved in the decision?
Yeah, definitely changes the range of the kickers, the cooler air.
As the ball comes in cleanly then from New Zealand, their best attacking platform they've had. Oh, and they're using it with aplomb. They're just working their way at the moment, mauling this one away. They've made a couple of metres. It's still moving for the time being. New Zealand ball getting ever closer to the Argentinian line. Advantage once again to New Zealand. 5 metres left to travel. It's Argentina 3, New Zealand 0. No try yet in this match. Are we about to see the first? Aaron Smith is appealing for the ball. Argentina popped up with it, but no, will come back for the penalty.
Second Maul penalty near the halfway line that Barrett nudged to the corner. The initial drive
Julian,
from New Zealand.
We've got quite a number already at the Maul. We had entry back there by 5. We had another entry here, okay, 4, and then 3 on the knees, okay? You've got to be way more disciplined. Your guys need to join on the from the back onto their own player first, not into the side, okay? More discipline.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, okay. Stole your thunder, didn't he?
Exactly that.
And you're both incredibly accurate too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you heard very clearly that Argentina are now on a warning. This is what we call the red zone, of course, because New Zealand attacking 5 metres out now from the Argentinian line. So we watch Geordie Barrett just drop that one over the far side touch. And it's a New Zealand line-out. Now, the line-out has been absolutely phenomenal for New Zealand throughout this World Cup.
Yeah, it is.
I think they're on 98%. They've only lost one of their line-outs in all of the games they've played, which is quite a significant stat as it goes up into the air. Whitelott takes it. Argentina on the warning, have to be very careful here. It's at the back. Right, they've just said it's stopped once. That's significant because it depends on where the ball actually is at the moment. It's Aaron Smith who's got it. He's trying to sneak through. Oh, he's a metre short. It's a penalty advantage again. The arm is still out there from the referee. Here's the opportunity. Kane goes. Is the skipper over? He's so close. Referee says no, you'll have to go again. It needs to come out. No one can see the ball. Eventually they do. They dip round the corner once again. Argentina managed to absorb. Now they're going to try and spin this one out. It's going to go long and wide to Jordan. Jordan's easily going to drop that one down in the corner. Really nice by New Zealand, kept it tight in the forwards. Jordan goes over for the first try at the semi-final. It's Argentina 3, New Zealand 5.
All started at the front, which was the Maul. They got it moving really nicely, the All Blacks. Argentina regrouped really well. It was only 5 metres out from the line, and Aaron Smith spotted that the Maul had disintegrated. He bounced away, got caught a metre from the line, and then a couple of digs from Adi Savia and also Cody Taylor, but then when they unleashed it to the back line, that's when the rhythm really started. Argentina tried to rush. Aaron Smith darting away from the scrum, the Maul I should say, and then when it went out the back, the really good work was from Sam Whitelott, shift on to Geordie Barrett, a missed pass, missed 2 players, and untouched in went Will Jordan.
Great pass out wide, wasn't it?
Yeah, Justin's just nailed it. The forwards did all the hard work, narrowed up that Argentinian defence. Then you ask a big man who's just been in the middle of a maul to make a slick out the back pass. Who do you go to? Sam Whitelott. No issues for him, and it was a walk-in.
Well, conversion still to come here by Richie Mwanga, who is 13, 14 metres out from this near side touch. On his 56th cap today, as he just does his little robot arms as he eventually gets himself ready to kick that ball straight through the post and extend the All Blacks lead here in this semi-final. It is now Argentina 3, New Zealand 7. A long way to go with only 12 minutes played, but after a really bright start by Argentina, they're going to have to play a lot tighter and a lot cleaner.
But the All Blacks have made their intentions clear, haven't they? They've gone to touch twice, they've mauled twice, they've been successful twice. It's taken them the length of the field and they've scored a try. It's an area that Argentina want to steer clear of.
OK, we're still waiting for one of the Argentinian players who had a little bit of a bandage put around his head in that moment where they were just taking the conversion kick. It's all ready, and we're going to get back underway now through Santiago Carreras. The Gloucester fly half sends it down inside of the All Blacks 22. Argentina are going to have to start finding a way past these All Blacks who have just grown into this competition. They might have lost that opening game against France, but Ian Foster has been very clear that it's all about peaking when it came to these knockout games in October, and that is what we've been witnessing so far. New Zealand on the ball then, 10 metres out from their own line. Bit of pressure here for Barrett to clear down towards this near side. Hasn't made a touch. It's gathered by Santiago Carreras. He uses his footwork to try and get past Mo'unga, not to be on this occasion. Gathered in the end by Bertranou. He manages to find a big forward in the form of Gallo to take on the ball. Bertranou once again, more forwards arriving in kind in Gomez Cadello. Still the big men for Argentina are the ones to make the ground, but just going over the top there was Ethan de Groot. Didn't quite get there to stay on his feet long enough to make the steal, but this is good from Argentina once again. We've seen a couple of bright spells from them now, and they just need to get over the gain line. They're battering away at the moment outside of the All Black 22. Still Argentinian ball. We get to see Marcus Kramer of Clermont, 63rd cap today, as it pushes back towards the midfield here for Argentina. They're trying to use fast hands, running straight into the wall that is Will Jordan and Richie Mo'unga. Ball goes down once again, but finally Argentina start attacking on the right side of that whitewash in the 22-metre line. Bertranou again. The phases are racking up here for the Pumas. 8-9 now in total, as a huge tackle comes in from New Zealand to push them back and say, no, you will not get any further inside of our territory. Argentina 3, New Zealand 7. As we approach the 15-minute mark on the clock here inside of the Stade de France. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, it's going to be England against South Africa, right back here for the right to play one of these sides in the World Cup final. As we hear from Angus Gardner that ball is fair game. New Zealand have managed to turn it over after all of that effort, all of the phases by Argentina. It comes to nothing. It comes to an All Black counter-attack. This is where they can be deadly. Really strong running lines coming in. Manages to come now to Mo'unga. He's got Jordan outside him. He can't get the pass away. His arms won't clear. Aaron Smith arrives. He gets it then in the end to Barrett. He's going to push towards the far side of the field. They're stretching it wide. Another Barrett is out there. Now it's Sam Cane. Mark Talea, who famously missed out on that quarter-final. Disciplinary reasons after apparently he missed a curfew. He's back on the field now. Can he make amends for his team today? Big running coming in. Oh, beautiful hands here by the forwards in particular. Will Jordan, who's already scored a try, is trying to hunt down another. Smith looks up, switches back the direction the other way. There's Argentinian players offside who need to be careful. Only 5 phases from the All Blacks, and they are 10 metres out from the Argentinian line. This is stunning stuff. Whitelock, huge man, makes huge strides going forward as Aaron Smith just calms everyone down. Let's compose something, he says. De Groot goes forward. Still All Black ball. A little bit of show and go, not to be on this occasion for New Zealand, who are trying to bide their time. De Groot goes once again, thinks about giving the little pop pass off his shoulder in the end to Barrett, decides against it. Whitelock again, they're pushing wide towards this near side. It is another Barrett who's going to touch down. It's Geordie who rolled over almost commando style to get that one over. It's 2 tries for New Zealand, and this will be worrying times now for Argentina. It's Argentina 3, New Zealand 12.
Coast to coast, Argentina were attacking. 10 or more phases, and this is the All Blacks at their very best at the breakdown. It was Mark Talea that got over the ball. Every man searching for the opportunity for a turnover. He turned it over. The ball eventually got into the hands of Rieko Ioane, Richie Mo'unga. The breakout from New Zealand from their 22 went all the way into Argentina's 22, and then when they got their moment to pounce, it was the offloading, popping off the ground. Taylor, Whitelock, featuring again Jordan, and then as they switched it from the midfield across to the right, the hands from props, locks, wingers were all timing of the pass were perfect, and then eventually it was finished. Lovely pass from Mo'unga to Will Jordan, and then finished by Geordie Barrett.
Perfect All Black rugby. The response to the event, the turnover, they can see it coming. Talea's not trying to win a penalty, he wants the ball because he knows where the space is. They immediately move it 2 passes away from where that event happened. Ioane and Mo'unga in harness, magical stuff.
Well, Richie Mo'unga is sucking up the shot clock here. It's down to 13 seconds for him to get this conversion. He's bent over double. There comes a little arm shuffle that we're used to, and he took a little bit too long on that one because he's just put that one to the right-hand side of the upright. So it remains New Zealand 12, Argentina 3. What are the messages that are going to be sent now to Argentina? New Zealand will be more of the same.
Yeah, and realistically, what Argentina are doing in attack is good. They're making headway. They're getting over the gain line, but you sense that the All Blacks are happy for them just to keep crashing on the rocks of their defence, bide their time, and when it's time to pounce, they go in. Maybe Argentina early in the piece look for a ball in behind the All Blacks, try and turn them, an attacking kick, force New Zealand to clear their lines and get possession again for Argentina.
Well, I think one of the Argentinian players is just going down the tunnel to have an HIA. We'll just confirm that change in a few moments' time because the restart has taken place. It's Argentina who send it down the field. It was actually Facundo Issa who went down the tunnel. On in his place now is Rodrigo Bruni, as the All Blacks will try and clear their lines now from inside of their own 22. Argentina, of course, opened this World Cup campaign with that, from their point of view, that hugely disappointing result against England after England went down to 14 players just a few minutes into that match. But it was England who came away with a resounding victory of 27-10 after all those George Ford drop goals in particular. But they've grown into the tournament from that moment. And again, Michael Cheika talking about how you have to grow into a tournament, get better as it goes, and he's been happy that that's what his team has done as they hack through in the end. A really nice touch on the ball there. Bit of a tricky one here for Richie Mo'unga to get. He's going to have to run himself out of trouble. He grabbed it just 30 centimetres from the far side touch. He's now in the middle of the field. He slightly slices the ball as it comes away on this near side. He did really well to get out of trouble, but just didn't quite execute at the end.
Well, by accident, Argentina have done what I just asked them to do, which is put the ball in behind the All Blacks, make them retreat, make them exit. Mo'unga tried to run himself out of trouble, fully 30 metres he made straight across the field, and then a little bit of a slice into touch. So Argentina get the ball back from first phase. They've maybe got a 3-phase plan to go again, but they don't want their possession to end with an All Black steal.
Julian Montoya gets ready to get the ball in. The Argentinian captain, a premiership winner with Leicester in 2022. As Argentina, they are using all kinds of footwork to try and disguise where they're going and fool the All Blacks, and they are not falling for anything so far. Argentina 3, New Zealand 12. 20 minutes played of the first semi-final, and it's a penalty to New Zealand.
And taken to ground.
Mistakes here by Argentina in attack, and they are the worst penalties to give away.
Yeah, they certainly are, especially when you're leaking points at the other end. You've got yourself into a good position, and just a bit of ill discipline, taking a player out who wasn't involved in the ruck. Argentina, which has resulted in a penalty. They were just outside the 22, Argentina, building nicely. Quite innovative in what they're trying to do. Going to one side of the field and then switching back with players coming from depth to the other. Possibly something they've seen around the New Zealand breakdown that Michael Cheika and the players feel they can expose. At the moment, the All Blacks are staying resilient with their defence in that zone.
Well, New Zealand have gathered the ball. They've sent it down towards this near side, and they've got a line out on the halfway line. The best line out at the Rugby World Cup. 52 line out throws. They managed to win 51 of them. That was a little bit disrupted. Argentina will be happy with that. They've managed to gather it. So have they managed to find a chink somewhere in that line out, as all of a sudden Bertranu is under huge pressure as he tried to tidy up that ball. Bit of a scrap going on the floor, still in the midfield, as they pick and they work their way around the corner. Argentina once more need a few more players to arrive and tidy that one up, as we just see Scott Barrett looking at the ball and looking at the referee, say, can I have it, can I have it? And the referee saying, no, you can't, get your mitts out of there. Right then, Argentina managed to gather on the far side of the field. They're 10 metres now inside of New Zealand territory. They've been here a few times. They've come away with 3 points so far from a penalty. They've not really looked like going over for a try just yet. as we go now, closing in on 22 minutes. Far side of the field, really nice run now by Mateo Carrera, still only 23 years old, a huge international career ahead of that young man as they work towards the 15-metre line. Bertranou once again, Dragons player. He's been a little bit of a firework buzzing around the field, doing his duties well. Slightly isolated there, Argentina. Referee says play on. It was Sam Cane who was making a nuisance of himself inside of that one. Tyrone Lomax manages to gather the ball. And it's a penalty again to New Zealand. No clear release there by the Argentinian player. And nothing is going the South Americans' way.
We've just seen a shot on the big screen after the previous penalty was given of Michael Cheika.
No, not for me, mate. He was in
his
good body
earpiece
position.
nearly came out, finger wagging. He's annoyed. The speed at which that penalty's given there to New Zealand for holding on. There were a couple of...
I understand what you're saying. I saw it differently. Okay.
New Zealand players coming out the wrong side of the ruck that if you, depending on which eye you've got open, you could complain that might be a bit of obstruction, etc., etc. The hard part for Argentina is they have to be so committed to the clear when you got guys like Sam Cane looking for the turnover. But sometimes you just go in so hard and so committed, you get beyond it, the referee sees it, it's an easy pen to give.
Certainly is. You've hit it bang on. And to paint the picture for people out there that can't see it, obviously, the All Blacks are really targeting second arriving player being on his feet. Every single man, wingers, front rowers are looking to turn that ball over. Argentina have to be very effective with their clean out.
Ball in then from New Zealand. They've got the line out on the halfway. Big running lines coming in by Ari Surveyor. What a World Cup he has had. The younger brother of Julian, of course, as ball goes high into the Paris sky. It's going to be a mark that's called in the end by Buffelli inside of the Argentinian 22. Just giving the Pumas a little bit of a chance to breathe, regather themselves and think of a new attack.
We just saw the All Blacks do one phase and then a box kick in the opposition half. What's going on?
That's lost to me, that, to be honest. They have tried that 3 or 4 times in this tournament. It hasn't worked. Quick throw in from Mwangi's found Bowden Barrett.
Yeah, he's running away now, the two-time player of the year, as he sends it high into the air, and it's going to be gathered in the end at the back by Buffelli once again, who knows that he's going to slide, and he's actually just used the grass there. He knows how slippery it is. He can't get too close to that whitewash because he'll just be so easily pushed over, and he's very aware of his momentum. Gonzalo Bertranou once again, just waiting, and the referee said the ball was out there.
Offside first?
But it was offside first. Now that is confusing by referee Angus Gardner. Yeah. He said the ball was out, but then it's offside first.
Yeah, I think he hadn't got the communication.
Offside, did he? Because the ruck shifted. Yeah.
Yeah, from Nick Berry, who had spotted it.
You've never adjusted back with the ruck.
So Angus Gardner, just to educate, was on the other side of the ruck. Nick Berry was on the closest side, the touch side, and he could see the indiscretion. Angus Gardner hadn't, and that's why he interjected and got the decision right.
You can see why Scott Barrett was annoyed there.
Yeah, you can. That's the first win for a while for Argentina. They haven't been on the favourable side of the penalty count, Paul.
No, they absolutely needed something like that, just a free one. Hands were on the ball from the scrum off. I'm not entirely sure it was ever necessarily out. There've probably been 1,000 rucks in this tournament, which would have been exactly the same. Ball never out. Nevertheless, they get their bit of luck. They get the opportunity to attack from a line out from the left-hand touchline.
Just got a slow-mo there of the grimaced face there of Scott Barrett, as the Argentinian fans start rising to their feet and encourage their team as a big black mitt gets involved at the Argentinian line-out, and it is once again New Zealand who fly away up their end of the field. Argentina 3, New Zealand 12, 25 minutes on the clock, and this Rugby World Cup semi-final on your home of the World Cup here on 5 Live Sport. Joined this evening, of course, by 2003 Rugby World Cup champion with England, Paul Grayson. Also Justin Marshall, former All Black scrum half, as New Zealand just take their time as they put together the caterpillar that is so famously loved and hated by rugby fans up and down the country. It basically depends if your team is doing it, how you feel about a caterpillar, isn't it, Paul Grayson?
And how long it takes to put together. It only took them a couple of seconds, so we'll forgive them. We're just debating whether the ball was touched in flight from the box kick because it went straight out. Looks like they go back to where it was kicked from because it did go straight out, but off an Argentinian hand, so it'll be a line out to the Kiwis just outside their own 22.
Come here.
Yeah, big charge down coming there from Argentina's. Managed to give themselves a few metres back.
Sorry,
we haven't seen Facundo Issa yet, so just keeping an eye to see if he will return to the field of play. It'll be hugely disappointing for him on the occasion of his 50th cap to miss out on the rest of the World Cup final. But they're changing their mind here as to what has happened happened, because it's a charge down, I think they're bringing it back to where it actually went out of play. So there's huge confusion here between the refereeing lineup of Angus Gardner, Carl Dixon and Nick Berry as to what actually happened. New Zealand are ignoring everything that's going on, and they're now slowly making their way back towards the halfway line for the lineup.
Well, because it was touched in the air, it doesn't go back to where the kick was made. It goes to where it went out.
Well, eventually they've come to the right conclusion, and it is New Zealand who start mauling their way down the left-hand touch. Aaron Smith is barking away the orders at the back, encouraging all of the forwards to keep going. And this is a lovely trudge here by that forward pack, all in black. Eventually Aaron Smith will release the backs. Nice work by Mo'unga. Talea off his wing looking for work, goes through heavy traffic in the midfield. Enough black shirts come in to shore things up. This time Mo'unga looks up. The big man going forward now is Frizzell. Back towards the near side. Get to see a little bit of footwork coming in once again, not to be on this occasion for Rieko Ioane. Cody Taylor now down on the floor. A lot of chopping and changing for the All Blacks at hooker, but they're blessed in that position, particularly at the moment. No Dane Coles involved at all this evening. Interesting to see if they did make a final, if he comes straight back in. Down on the ground, still New Zealand ball. This time it's the captain, Sam Cane. What kind of an impression has he made on this World Cup? Came into it as a real Marmite character in New Zealand, has risen in stature as his team has risen through this tournament, winning far more of his critics over as Will Jordan now. He goes through the middle of the park as well. It's loose on the floor. Argentina need to pounce on it, and they do. They spin it out, not looking to set something up just yet. And this is where Argentina perhaps just need to compose themselves. They've had far more territory and possession than any other semi-finalist who's reached this stage of the tournament. And sometimes they just need to put boot to ball and get it out of there, and that's exactly what Santiago Carreras does. Sends it down. A little bit of miscommunication between Mark Talea and Beauden Barrett. Doesn't matter because Barrett gathers, uses his right boot, sends it down the field. Out on the far side of the field waiting is Malia. He puts the high one into the air. It's going to come down to Mo'unga. A little bit of an aerial contest. It is the All Blacks that come away with it, but they're back inside of their own half, so they haven't quite won that aerial battle for the time being, although they do still have ball in hand. Scott Barrett. As we just see Sam Cane knock on the ball there. Rare as hen's teeth when it comes to mistakes like that from the All Blacks after that quarter-final performance, but I suppose one had to come eventually.
I think that's probably the first basic error I've seen from the All Blacks in 110 minutes. They have been so good. Their discipline with ball in hand has been amazing.
No, it was you.
Sam Cane, that was just mandatory. Very, very unusual. He's been playing so well.
Just at the back of that ruck over there.
Those two gifts there really had one good turnover from Argentina on their own 22. With the All Blacks on attack, it went to the wrong man. I think it went to Kremer. It needed to go straight to a back who could leather it straight down the field without the extra phase. As it was, they kicked long and pressed the field, and then Sam Cane coughed it up. Argentina scrum, we're going to see the first one for them, and what they can do with it. It's right over on the far side. They'll have 60 metres of the pitch away to their left to play into if they fancy it. But the division of labour within the All Blacks, just in first receiver constantly rotating. Barrett, not the biggest Barrett, the middle Barrett, who's only 6'5". Geordie Barrett's in there, Richie Mo'unga's in there. Beauden steps up from time to time, and then you'll get Will Jordan come off his wing to carry it, and then Scott Barrett carries it. Really is, they're working their way through the team, aren't they?
Talea comes off his wing. They are just unafraid to move and become first receivers. Players working off any player that wants to put their hand up and get their hands on the ball. It's a great method, and the game plan really is in sync, everybody understanding their roles.
Well, they're about to pack back down after that little break there. Argentina 3, New Zealand 12. Still 10 minutes to go in this semi-final. Always a nice opportunity to remind ourselves, I think, of the Barrett dynasty. Of course, his dad, the dad, I should say, not his dad, because there's so many of them. Their dad, pretty decent player for Taranaki. Mum was apparently a very good runner and netball player, a bit of basketball in there as well. There's actually 5 brothers in total, and that's not also forgetting, I think there's 3 sisters as well in that mix. 8 siblings, and they're all brilliant at sport. You've got 3 boys that are all right.
That's awesome. Sport's a great way to go forward. Give them a ball, let them get on with it.
Were you tempted to go for 8 or happy with your 3?
Well, gee whiz, 8.
Different gravy. There's a whole pack there, right then. And that's what they're doing right now, scrumming down. Argentina 3, New Zealand 12. It's Argentina ball, attacking down in the All Blacks half of the field. Look up for the ball. They're trying to work their way around the corner as we think now a permanent fixture in this semi-final is Rodrigo Bruni of Bayonne, who came on for Issa for an HIA and hasn't returned to the field. Heavy footwork coming in there by Carreras and lovely soft hands eventually by Guido Petit of Bordeaux. Middle of the field, Santiago Carreras looking for options as we just see one of the Argentinian players absolutely smashed there by Jordi Barrett. One of the reasons he likes playing inside centre is because he likes the big physicality of it. And once again, Argentina put boot to ball, just work their way through and get touch on the far side. And they're forcing New Zealand into a line out. And just as I say that, look at this. He is coming back. He has passed his HIA. Facundo Issa means that he comes back onto the field of play. Rodrigo Bruni will take a seat, and that's great for him on his 50th cap. You don't want to miss a semi-final.
No, he had his moment, didn't he, before the game when the whole stadium was his. Led his team out on his own in those few seconds. The crowd stood to applaud him. Great achievement for any player who gets to 50 caps. You don't want to go off her early doors. Good to see him back.
Yeah, the Toulon man goes and makes his way towards the line out, and he's actually going to hang out in the backfield and watch this, because they've gone, I think, for 6 men in that line out, so he's not required. He can hang around and wait as New Zealand eventually get the ball in, taken cleanly in the air by Whitelock, and New Zealand 10 metres out from their own line. Got a couple of tries in their pocket already in this semi-final, looking confident. Everyone expected it to be this kind of a performance. Argentina have had their moments. Now the ball's gone out of play on the far side from a clearance from New Zealand. Argentina did try and charge it down, but probably for the best that they didn't, because they've got the line out.
Yeah, and at just over half an hour in, they're 12-3 down. The All Blacks, when they've got into Argentina's territory, even when it was from their own 5-metre line, score quick, as they always historically have done. Argentina, you feel, need to get something on the board soon.
Well, really long ball to the back there by Argentina. That's a great line-out drive from them as they're now going over the New Zealand 22. There's still 8 minutes to travel until half-time in this, and they're going to want to get back within a score. They're trailing by 9 at the moment in this semi-final, as we see a huge run coming in there by the big, bushy, bearded man that is Marcus Kramer. Bertrand looks up. There are Argentinian men available to him. You can just see Ethan de Groot getting himself in that body position to try and steal. He wasn't quick enough, though, and they're being very careful. This is the best attack we've seen from Argentina. Santiago Carreras quickly covered as Martinez thought he could go in and have a little bit of a sniff. 7 metres to go to the All Black try line. As the appeals come up from the All Blacks, they want more out of this exchange, but they're being stopped now by a very solid, strong Argentinian attack. Bertrand's got numbers on his shoulder. It's Issa who's back on the field. 3 metres left to go. It's penalty advantage also to Argentina. Can they get something out of this? Gomez Cadella managed to get the ball. Issa goes again. He's had his 10-minute rest. He wants more. The appeals go up by Bertrand. He wants the big men. He wants the forwards to build something here. Montoya, what a run from him. Not to be 30 centimetres to go. Turnover ball there for New Zealand, but they'll come back for the penalty. What a set by Argentina, the best we've seen.
A couple of thunderous carries in the middle of that. Kremer to the fore. They got within 5 metres. And then the defensive team get trapped, not rolling away. Then you've got to gamble whether you give the second penalty away to kill the ball, run the risk of a yellow card, test the referee out. But what you don't want to do is concede 5, maybe 7 in that initial burst. And the All Blacks did well to force the turnover, however they did it.
That was a really long time Argentina took to make the decision that they are going to kick for goal.
Certainly was. They were contemplating scrum time or possibly even a penalty tap. They've spent so much time down in this area, and that time got so very close to going over the New Zealand line that maybe they thought just applying more pressure, especially after a penalty being conceded by the All Blacks, maybe they were looking for a little bit more, but they're going to bank the 3, and I think they need to do that. Just keep accumulating, keep the scoreboard close.
So Boffelli, he's 1 from 1, this to make it a 6-point game. That's exactly what he does. New Zealand 12, Argentina 6. As the Pumas fans inside the stadium get to their feet, jump up and down, and know that they are still in this fixture, because ultimately, if New Zealand do get another score when approaching that half-time whistle, it's going to be really hard for Argentina to come back.
And the perception is, because the All Blacks were so accurate with their 2 clean kills for their tries, that they're way ahead. But in actuality, they're not. And as long as Argentina can hang in there on the scoreboard, you never know.
Okay, we just from the restart had a really unfortunate tackle there in the air. It came in by Fasunda Isa, and it was on Will Jordan, who is
That's just a
okay.
penalty for me.
Agree.
Okay, so you just heard Ben Whitehouse, who's the TMO,
listen.
coming in there. Let's listen into the referee.
Be very careful, okay? Okay, in the air, yeah, okay, because it could work out differently, okay?
Okay, it was actually Juan Martin Gonzalez who went up into the air there, and just a penalty. Gents, you happy with that?
Yeah, happy with that. It was a contest in the air. He just got his timing slightly wrong, which meant that he interfered with Will Jordan, who was in the air off his feet. And he just sort of wrapped his arms around at the wrong time. But
okay?
yeah, more clumsy than anything else, and more clumsy than dangerous, which is the key thing.
Okay, so New Zealand line out then. Really strong position for them on the Argentinian 22. Brazil went up into the air as they just wait now for more players to arrive to try and shore this one up. It's not moving too fast at the moment here for New Zealand. It's slightly crabbing and it's moving in on itself, but it's not really gone anywhere from where that liner actually formed. Geordie Barrett straight into Carrick. Huge clatter going on him
On the shoulder initially.
by Kramer. You probably heard that one from the microphones that are down by the pitch as they just try and work forward. There's some big defensive efforts going here by Argentina, who are desperate not to let New Zealand go past. But you just heard that advantage New Zealand. Offside there from Argentina as New Zealand are pushed further back towards the halfway line. Kane with a little touch through. And eventually they're going to bring it back to where the penalty was scored. And the warning there against Julian Montoya going off his feet.
Couple of absolute wallops in the middle of that from the Argentinian defence. New Zealand carried the ball short. Geordie Barrett
Flying in straight off your feet.
was smashed by Kremer, I think it was, just below the shoulder line, 6'5", Geordie Barrett. So he's obviously not dipped a lot if he's catching him on the shoulder. And then again in the middle, and Montoya just adjudged by the referee to be too keen straight off his feet. We've just caught a replay of that on the screen. He's absolutely right.
And that'll be exactly what Michael Cheika and Argentina did not want. They got themselves into a good position. They banked their 3 points to get that scoreboard closer. And then from there, they didn't execute a kick-off, conceded a penalty. From the line-out drive, they then, Montoya going over the ball, made a disciplinary at the breakdown, and they've gifted the 3 points back. Off the back of points, you want to secure the kick-off, get down the other zone, and make sure you reward your decision to take the points. They haven't done that.
The voice of Justin Marshall, former All Black, here with us on 5 Live Sport as New Zealand further extend their lead here in this World Cup semi-final. It's now New Zealand 15, Argentina 6, and as soon as Argentina managed to punch a small hole in the gap, New Zealand comes straight back.
And you've got to give credit to the All Blacks. It would have been easy having conceded the 3 to come to the kick-off, go deep, try and force low risk. What they did do was go flat attacking kick-off to Will Jordan, made it a contest in the air that Argentina couldn't cope with, gave the penalty away.
Well, just a reminder that it is a big weekend on 5 Live Sport. Away from the rugby on Saturday, we've got Premier League commentary at 3 o'clock. That's Manchester City against Brighton. That's going to be with Ian Dennis and Chris Sutton. Then after Sports Report at 5 o'clock, it's Chelsea against Arsenal with Alistair Bruce Ball and Pat Nevin. That one kicks off at 5:30. Then, of course, the small matter of England against South Africa in the other semi-final. Argentina on the ball, as the ball has gone forward there by Argentina. And worth saying here, at this moment, it'll be New Zealand who'll be going through to the final if the scores stay like they are. A long way to go. A minute and a half until the break. Argentina 6, New Zealand 15.
Well, there is the commentator's curse, which we've seen in action tonight. We're talking about how good New Zealand's line-out was. They immediately lost the next one. It also happens to referees. Generally, as soon as they say advantage over from a knock-on, the team in possession makes a mistake and gets done for it, which is why the crowd were moaning. Lavanini should have passed it early. He took it into contact and made it too difficult for his support outside.
Well, to close out this first half then, it's going to be a scrum far side of the field between the 10 and the 22 inside of the All Blacks half, as we see Michael Cheika on his normal warpath starting to stomp his way back down to the technical area. Of course, this is his last stand as Argentinian coach. Coming in behind him, Felipe Contapone, who's one of his assistant coaches at the moment. Absolute legend of Argentinian rugby as well, former fly half centre, 87 caps to his name, of course, and he actually played under Michael Cheika at Leinster, then also at Stade Francais as well. Now working with him here at Argentina, ready to take on the mantle. Apparently he's quite a calm coach that surprises a lot of people that ever played against him. He's quite excitable.
Just a bit.
There we go. Right then, penalty to New Zealand at the first time of asking. Referee doesn't even want to reset that one at all. That's definitely a Barrett family in the crowd. I've never met the family, but I can see the DNA.
They've just put it on the screen here. Yep, absolutely. That's, as he's known, Smiley Barrett, the dad of all of those kids you alluded to him having had, and he has. I actually, showing my age, he was at the end of his career. I did play against Smiley Barrett, and the way that his boys play rugby, he was exactly the same. He just slightly more on the line of illegality. We'll say it in a kind way, but yeah, the Barrett family, fantastic. What a big scrum from the All Blacks, Paul. Boy, they made a statement there, and the clearing kick now has them down by Argentina's 22 and an opportunity to get some more points just before half-time.
Right then, yeah, line out. Last thing that we're going to see then, because it's from a penalty, before we get to that half-time whistle. Argentina 6, New Zealand 15, and New Zealand want more. They're not done yet in this half. They don't want to go out now with just ball in hand with a knock-on. They want points, more points. That's what they're all about. Pushing towards the far side of the field, working through the phases, keeping it tight in the forwards. Aaron Smith, 2015 champion, of course. He works his way forward. In the mix of the middle of all of that, you can see Sam Whitelock down on the floor. He's a two-time champion, of course, after he also lifted the title in 2011. Scott Barrett performing in front of mum and dad as the ball comes back now to Sam Cane. Made his debut back in 2012. Everyone can remember the first time he actually captained the All Blacks in the 2015 Rugby World Cup in their match against Namibia out at the Olympic Stadium in East London. Everyone said then he was going to be one of the future big captains as Talaire uses his feet to work through it. Still Talaire, oh, he's just inches short of going over for the All Blacks there. They've got huge numbers out on the far side. It's going to be dotted down, eventually it is. It's Frizzell who goes over, New Zealand's third try, who are looking strong, they're looking confident. This is everything we expected from this All Black side in this semi-final. Argentina yet to show up. New Zealand 20, Argentina 6.
There's absolutely no razzle-dazzle in that. It was one-off runners. Firstly, it was the forwards all rolling their sleeves up and going to work. Aaron Smith, just off the breakdown, was hitting every individual player, in particular forwards, and they were just muscling their way towards the goal line until Mark Talaire got his hands on the ball. He pirouetted, he powered, spun out of a couple of tackles, went just short of the line. That left Argentina with no numbers as it got shifted across after his run from Aaron Smith through the hands to Frizzell. It all looked too easy.
And just on that, how significant is it getting points at this moment as we wait for Richie Mo'unga to line up this one?
Oh, that's a killer for Argentina. They got their three back, immediately conceded a penalty for another three, and then they get squeezed in the set piece, which, well, it's a few years now since that was their out-and-out strength. They got squeezed in the scrum, which gave the All Blacks the penalty, the opportunity to go after them, pick and go, physically dominating those exchanges, and another walk-in.
Big moment then for Richie Mo'unga as we close in then on the end of this half and what has all been about New Zealand. Now he's missed that one as well. Not the first time he has actually missed in this half as we see Argentina go down for the tunnel, which is going to be one of the biggest team talks of their lives as we watch them go down. New Zealand as well. And what can Michael Cheika say, Paul Grayson?
Well, some of the discipline from his team. They've given a couple of penalties away, but ultimately the forwards are getting dominated. They're getting dominated in the maul. They've just been dominated in the scrum. They've got to work out a way to sort that out. They've played some nice rugby, but the All Blacks are predatory when they're in defence, waiting for the turnover, and we've all seen what they can do in counter-attack. Tries
for Jordan, Barrett, and then Frizzell means it's all about the All Blacks in this semi-final so far. Half-time, New Zealand 20, Argentina 6.
And you do feel they've taken a giant stride towards the World Cup final. Argentina with plenty of work to do, trailing by 20 points to 6 at half-time. It was interesting that Michael Cheika came down early before that half had finished, Justin, and he was remonstrating with the fourth official, hotly followed by Felipe Contepomi, who was doing the same thing. their frustration from their body language was writ large. Do you feel that they've not had the rub of the green from the referee?
It's quite clear they haven't had the rub of the green. It's just about whether or not that rub of the green is because of their own ill discipline, and I feel that pretty much majority of the penalties were justified. They're giving away penalties because they're under pressure, and they're under pressure at the breakdown, and that's when you become inaccurate. I don't think the bounce of the ball and a few other things have gone their way, but Michael Cheika, he wears his heart on his sleeve, as we know, and he feels differently. But yeah, a really ill-disciplined half from Argentina, I feel.
You can't deny that they've been physically dominated in the forwards. The maul from the get-go for the All Blacks was a point of difference. Argentina infringed off the first one. New Zealand went deep, mauled infield, had a couple of pick and goes, and ended up creating a try in the right-hand corner, and that was all too easy. Same at the end of the half. It's an 8-man shove from the All Blacks, crumpled the Argentinian scrum, A, B and C, and then they're walking in again. So regardless of whether there's been a couple of arguable decisions, the Argentinian pack getting monstered.
Should we sit back and just sort of luxuriate in that second try for the All Blacks by Geordie Barrett, because it was perfection, wasn't it, Justin? I mean, we you know, the neutral here will want Argentina to fight back and to maybe even win this game. But if you just want to love and watch rugby, boy, that was good, wasn't it?
It was, and it's the ambition to play and the breakout from inside their 22 off a turnover from Mark Taylor, the winger. And all of a sudden the All Blacks spotted an opportunity on the far right-hand side of the field. Instead of kicking it away after being under pressure for 10 or more phases, they had the ambition to play. They broke out from inside their own 22, away they went, and then once they got inside that 22, it's all about finishing, isn't it? And the finishing was of the highest quality because it was forwards and backs combining in contact, making offloads, putting the ball into space where defenders were not, and then eventually getting it to Geordie Barrett with his speed and strength, where he had a player scrambling across for Argentina to try and cut him down. It was a picture. It really was.
Yeah, hang it in the Louvre, as they say. I mean, Paul, I know that the penalty count does not reflect well on Argentina, but, you know, when they get over into the 22, they've looked quite sharp, haven't they? Well, what do they need to do better when they get into that red zone, as we call it in rugby union?
There gets to a point where getting over the gain line isn't enough. There needs to be some incision. We've seen Kremer's carried the ball extremely hard. Lavanini's had a couple of decent carries and they've got onto the front foot, but then where's the spark after that? I'd like to see Mateo Carreras get off his wing, because he can beat a player when there is apparently no space. Go and roam, go and find a ball, try and find a forward who's in recovery around the breakdown, use your lateral movement and acceleration to bring a bit more incisiveness. Failing that, they've got to keep sticking the ball in behind the All Blacks and try and create a kind of 50-50 opportunity for themselves.
The lights are strobing again here at the Stade de France. The ground staff are just out with their forks, kind of making sure that the divots go back in. That's what happens when you have men of about 118, 120 kgs knocking 7 bells out of each other. The turf takes a bit of a punishment. The All Blacks leading 20 points to 6 at half-time here at the Stade de France. We'll be back for the second 40 to see if Argentina can get themselves back into this World Cup semi-final. That to come after the news here on 5 Live with Richard Foster.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
2 American hostages taken during the Hamas attacks in Israel 2 weeks ago have been released. The Islamist group's Telegram channel says Judith and Natalie Ranan have been freed for humanitarian reasons and with the involvement of Qatar. The group Hostages Families HQ has welcomed the move. Our correspondent Paul Adams has more.
That is a group that represents a number of the families, not all of them, but a number of the families of the 203 hostages. They have welcomed the release of the hostages from Hamas captivity. And I'll just read a little bit more from their statement. Continuing to hold hostages, they say, is a war crime. Hundreds of families are expecting assistance from the leaders of Arab countries after the actions of Hamas shocked the whole world.
President Biden says he's overjoyed that the 2 women will soon be reunited with their relatives. He says they'll have the full support of the United States government as they recover and heal. 3 people have died in the flooding and gale-force winds brought by Storm Babette. 2 were killed in Angus and a man also died in Shropshire. Hundreds of people living in Angus have been sent to refuge centres. Another red warning for very heavy rain, meaning there's a danger to life, will come into force there at midnight. Professor Liz Bentley from the Royal Meteorological Society told 5 Live the storm has some way to go yet.
For England, we should see the rain petering out as we go overnight, but it's going to move back into Scotland, and there's a red warning in place for tomorrow for South East Scotland, partly because of the amount of rain that's going to fall tomorrow, but because it's falling on exceptionally wet ground. We've still got another 24 hours or so of rain as it moves further north to contend with.
Talks are going to take place to try to resolve the pay dispute involving junior doctors in England. The Doctors' Union, the BMA and the Department of Health have agreed to meet next week. Ministers have repeated that what they call headline pay won't be on the table. And Sir Keir Starmer says Labour's by-election victories are history in the making. The party took Tamworth and Mid-Bedfordshire, previously considered Conservative strongholds. Rishi Sunak says there have been local factors at play.
Well, here we are again. It's been a minute now.
Cillian Murphy's limited edition is back.
Music was definitely my first love.
A nocturnal playlist with music hand-picked by Cillian Murphy.
I've been listening to an awful lot of music since we last spoke. So there'll be new stuff, there'll be old stuff, there'll be weird stuff. As well as some very beautiful, serene music. And some proper euphoric music. It's like pure sonic joy.
Cillian Murphy's limited edition. To listen, just search Cillian on BBC Sounds.
Every game live. Rugby World Cup 2023 on 5 Live, Radio 5 Sports Extra and the BBC Sport website with Sonia McLaughlin.
And welcome back to the Stade de France. A slightly subdued atmosphere, you've got to say, because you know that this crowd senses that the All Blacks have taken a grip potentially on this semi-final, leading by 20 points to 6 at the break. A lot for Argentina to do to get back into this match, and we will be back for the second half of coverage very, very shortly. Just moving away from the rugby union for a few moments, because there's boxing coming up for you on Saturday night on 5 Live Sports Extra, because Jack Catterall is taking on Jorge Linares in Liverpool. And as ever, joining us to look ahead to the fight is our boxing reporter, Steve Puntz. Hi, Steve.
Hiya, son. You know, we're going to end up having boxing this year about 44 or 45 Saturdays in the year. I've never known a period like it. Imagine if you had Argentina and you had Samoa and you had Fiji and England and Ireland and Scotland every single week. It's relentless.
It is. I'm not sure the players would cope without physicality, but I take your point. Now, look, you've got a fight between these two on Saturday night. What's at stake here?
You know, sometimes we have belts, those horrible little trinkets that are given to us but they're vile, they're leather, and they've got foam inside them and all sorts
Looks
of fake
like something
diamonds.
A horse should wear sometimes. You know, Shire horses.
That's exactly what they look like. They're vile, they're disgusting. I hate them. I hate those belts. You know what's at stake here? What's at stake here for Jack Catterall is a chance to get some redemption and get some revenge. He was at the wrong end of a decision early last year. It's taken him nearly 20 months to recover. That was against Josh Taylor for 4 belts, all 4 of the championship belts, 4 of those pieces of jewellery. Catterall lost that night. It was wafer thin. I've never known the British boxing business stand behind a man who was wronged like they've stood behind Catterall. He's moving closer and closer to a rematch with Josh Taylor. But first, he's got to fight El Rey, the King, Linares, one of the finest stylists over the last 15 years. He's 38 now, and that's about the only thing in Catterall's favour.
Yeah, so Catterall's having to kind of, work his way back, isn't he, after what was such a really contentious decision against Josh Taylor. What's that taken out of him ahead of this bout, emotionally as much as anything?
Well, I was talking to his partner and his little girl. I mean, his little girl's only 1.5, so he wasn't having much of a conversation. But his partner assured me, hey, listen, I've had conversations, don't worry, with children of that age, and sometimes they're good, grandkids especially. But no, his partner told me, she looked me in the eye, said, Steve, honestly, he's fine. And I've had a couple of long meets with Catterall this last 3 or 4 months. I think he's finally got over what happened in February of 2022. I think he's ready. And he might just be the best British boxer that most people have never heard of.
OK, now we're also supposed to have another fight tomorrow night, an all-British light heavyweight fight between Joshua Buatsi and Dan Aziz. That's no longer happening, Steve. What's happened?
Son, I was having a really nice night until you reminded me of that.
Sorry.
That was my fight of the year. That was my fight of the year. 2 unbeaten guys. They live and they breathe and they went to school no more than 1.5 miles from each other in South London. Dan Aziz pulled a muscle in the last 1 second of the last training session earlier this week. Fights off. It'll be back. Aziz and Buatsi will be a super fight, as will Josh Taylor and Catterall next year. Super fights. We've got 2 in the bag already. It's only October.
Excellent. And Steve Bunce will be with us on 5 Live, 10 o'clock tomorrow on Sports Extra to bring you Jack Catterall against Jorge Linares, the Venezuelan. That's at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool, and we will have full commentary for you on that one. Now, to tennis, actually. We've been talking a lot about coaches, haven't we, here during the Rugby World Cup and again this evening, and coaching decisions. This is interesting from British player Emma Raducanu today. She's had 5 coaches, remember, in 2 years. But she says it's clear on what sets her apart from her competition currently.
I think that I have a lot of bandwidth for knowledge and learning and time. So I'm just curious about everything, every different world I can get into. I think that maybe I do shape and frame the way I train or the way I approach certain decisions differently. And I think that it does give me an advantage because I'm not necessarily the biggest hitter or, the strongest or run the fastest, but I think that I can use my brain in ways that can give me a same advantage.
Does that maybe have a knock-on effect to your coaches? Because then you want to get as much information as you can from them and you're very good at absorbing that information.
Honestly, yeah, I ask my coaches a lot of questions. I think that on certain occasions they haven't been able to keep up with the questions I've asked, so maybe that's why it ended. But it's something that I've always done, and I keep provoking, I keep asking questions to coaches and, challenging their thinking as well. I'm not someone that you can just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I need to understand why and then I'll do it.
That's Emma Raducanu speaking to Karthi Nanasegaram for the Today programme. You read more of that on the BBC Sport website. Just tell you, Red Bull's Max Verstappen, 3 times world champion already, isn't he? Has top first practice at the US Grand Prix in Texas. Ahead of qualifying tonight, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Mercedes Lewis Hamilton finished 2nd and 3rd respectively as the All Blacks start to emerge from the tunnel. Ipswich's match in the Championship of Rotherham, scheduled for 8 o'clock this evening, was called off on safety grounds. And you can download the latest episode of the Football Daily podcast now on BBC Sounds. Kelly Summers joined by Mario Melchot and Stuart Downing to preview the weekend's Premier League football, of course, which is back after the international break as Argentina also emerge onto the pitch. Paul Grayson, we've just been seeing Michael Cheika in the changing room. We often say, what do they say at half-time, etc., etc. How much influence can a coach have at half-time?
No, this is death or glory for Argentina. They've got to absolutely go for it. Cheika will leave. It'll be, to me, 1 or 2 tactical, technical points, maybe at most. The rest of it's about getting your ticker switched on, piling into the All Blacks and go out swinging.
Beauden Barrett's got the ball in his hands. We are about to restart here as the All Blacks lead by 20 points to 6. Can Argentina fight their way back into this World Cup quarterfinals? Sarah.
Thanks, Sonia. Well, I don't want to put a downer on this, but I did just read the stat at halftime that no team has ever come back from more than 7 points down at halftime to win a Rugby World Cup semi-final. But that does mean that Argentina have just been given a license to come out and do whatever they want to get the job done. They trail here in this semi-final, 20 points to 6. And they've got to find something from somewhere. Now, they have made a change. Mateus Alemano is now onto the field. I didn't quite catch yet who is it who's come off in his place. So an early change there for the Argentinians. And fascinating to see how both these sides change their benches as this match will continue. Because if it is as we used the word inevitable, Justin Marshall, didn't we, at half-time, going to be New Zealand who go into the final. They've got to rest some tired bodies out there.
Yeah, they do. It'll be fascinating to see whether New Zealand go to their bench. They didn't use quite a few of their reserves last week. It'll just depend on how the first 10-15 minutes unfold. But yes, there is that feeling and inevitability. What people suspected might unfold this evening has unfolded in that first half with a quite dominant New Zealand performance. They're quite comfortably ahead on the scoreboard. So it's about how Argentina somehow can come out of those sheds and have had a good chat and try and lift the energy levels of not only their players but of this crowd as well to bring them into the match.
Yeah, what you don't want to do from the kickoff is make a complete mess of it.
Just sort of what just happened. Argentina 6, New Zealand 20. We're only 1 minute now into this second half, and it's a New Zealand ball. We can see black players fanned out towards the right-hand side. They're travelling from right to left in this second half, and this scrum is on the Argentinian 22-metre line, 5 metres out from the far side touch. Argentina's backs in defensive formation, waiting to see what flies towards them. As the ball makes its way to back, that is a fantastic New Zealand scrum that is shoving Argentina back a metre at a time. Sam Cane almost has time to go up and look and see what's going on. They've got penalty advantage as well. Oh, Aaron Smith now breaks away. He's got support, doesn't need it. Smith goes over. That was wonderful work by the forwards. And then all the ingenuity and the opportunity taken by Aaron Smith. 124 caps of experience. That was brilliant.
Well, first the power. I'll let Justin talk you through what happened after that. The power of the New Zealand scrum absolutely blitzing the Argentinian tight head Ethan de Groot going to work. They got on the front foot. They walked it till the referee gave the penalty away, and Surveyor popped it up to Smith. Over to you, Justin.
Yeah, they got it up on the loose head side, so because of that the Argentinian loose forwards were taken out of the mix, so Xavier just picked up the ball. He did Bertrano really easy with a step, Aaron Smith, and slid over in the tackle of Carreras. That is exactly what Argentina did not need. Aaron Smith and his experience, but equally the All Blacks scrum completely demolishing them in the first couple of minutes after half-time.
That was an absolute beauty of a try. The architecture that went into that was very, very well formed. As we now wait for Richie Mo'unga to add the extras. He's 5 metres out from the far side touch. Now, his kicking hasn't quite been on form so far today. He's only 2 from 4 from the boot, but it doesn't matter too much because New Zealand are so far ahead on the scoreboard as it goes into the sky. He's got that one. So it is now New Zealand 27, Argentina 6. This could turn into a little bit of a blowout unless Argentina can find some kind of inspiration from somewhere. But you have to say, watching an All Blacks masterclass isn't too bad.
No, it's not. There's just points of excellence right across the field. We're going to see a lot more of it in the second half. Argentina absolutely up against it now.
Restart then from Argentina, goes just outside of the All Blacks 22. Ball goes back in the end to Mo'unga, who sends it down the field. Waiting in the backfield is Carreras. He's got support from Malia if he wants it. He decides to run it up himself. High one into the air as Spider-Cam just gets out of the way as the ball comes down to Geordie Barrett. Spun out ball to his brother Bowden, who uses his left boot to send it down towards this near side. And it's gathered again, once again, by Carreras. He's going to find Mark Talea hanging out in the New Zealand backfield. We haven't seen too much aerial ping-pong, and we're not going to see any more now as Talea goes on a mazy run across the field, runs into heavy track in the warm of Thomas Gallo, who pulls him down to the ground, the Benetton loose head. And New Zealand have it once again. They're just trying to figure out how they work their way out of their own half of the field, and they've got time on their hands. They've got 27 points. Argentina only have 6 as it's a high one put up once again, this time by Mo'unga. Waiting this time is Buffelli. He decides to take his blue and white socks and run it towards his own 10-metre line. Black shirts welcome him with open arms to bring him down to the grass in Paris. Back towards the middle of the field. Still Argentinian ball. They have done this a lot in the World Cup, where you think they're going to try and kick their way out of trouble, and they say, no, we'll take the possession. We'll just run with ball in hand, and they can run themselves into trouble in this, because ultimately, if you look at the scoreboard, all of this effort that they're putting in doesn't always translate itself into points on the scoreboard, because they do a lot of this at the wrong end of the field. As the high ball goes up once again, this time it's Beauden Barrett who says thank you very much, but he almost mistimes his feet there. Beauden Barrett lands on his backside, ball goes out of play on the near side, and it's going to be an Argentina line out inside of their own half.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of effort going in there from Argentina to get to a point where they put up a military medium box kick and get nothing out of it. They're still in their own half. I prefer they went early, tried to get high up the field, put some pressure on the All Blacks that way.
Well, Argentina just managed to hold on to their own line out. It's not clean. It's a real mess out there for the Pumas, you have to say. They just don't seem to be able to tidy anything as they come towards this near side, and eventually it's Issa who comes out and puts a foot in touch on the near side. Nothing is going their way, and they really need someone out there to galvanise them right now. They need a rousing speech. They need that Argentinian passion to start coming out in spades.
That's a tight call, absolutely correct call from the touch judge, just the heel of the boot catching the whitewash. But that's the sort of thing you think will spark them. That was a knockdown, tap down line out, unstructured. They found a little bit of a gap, potential breakaway.
Well, here comes Cody Taylor, of course, got a yellow card last week in the quarter-final.
Stay back, 9. Stay
back in. It's actually Samasoni Takiaho who's on the bench for New Zealand today. As the ball comes in, this is crabbing forward like an inch at a time. And then all of a sudden it starts moving, and the warning there for the Argentinian players to go back round. Barrett back inside to Talea as a little bit of a telling off goes the way of Guido Petty of Bordeaux, as our referee Angus Gardner of Australia is very unhappy with his work around that last maul. New Zealand attacking inside of Argentinian territory over the 10-metre line, taken forward this time by the Highlanders' Frizzell. New Zealand 27, Argentina 6. One-way traffic once again. Oh, Mo'unga with the dummy, totally read like an easy pamphlet that comes through your door there by Argentina as he goes on a really quick run towards the 5-metre line. They're nearly there now as the All Blacks go once again. They've already scored 4, they want a 5th. Who's going to put their hand up and say, I'll take this one? Still All Blacks ball, 5 metres left to travel. Frizzell once again, he's got one, can he get another? This time it's a Barrett brother in the form of Geordie. 4 metres to go. Ardi Surveyor hasn't gone over yet this evening, just building up a real bit of steam to try and force himself over the line. Not to be. Whitelock, how many minutes is he going to play now as he's teaming up with his Crusaders teammate in the form of Scott Barrett? Round the corner, the All Blacks go once again. The Argentinian wall will hold for now. 10 phases they put together. The patience is impeccable. But then it goes over. Surely that's the moment. No, says the referee. You will go again as eventually they spin it out wide. Beautifully read by Argentina. His Bowden Barrett is lifted and dispatched down to the turf. All Black ball, 13 phases. Now we've got the penalty advantage. Talea goes. He's not being tackled just yet.
Play advantage.
Another metre still. This is exhausting stuff. What an attack by the All Blacks. What a defensive shift coming in now by Argentina. De Groot works the hard yards. Not to be. The discipline from both sides has been reasonably effective. Comes back once again. This is All Black ball. Charging forward goes Lomax. Needs it quickly. Surveyor. Is he going to go round and over? It's Frizzell.
Easy up.
Frizzell goes over, try number 5, and New Zealand are having fun now. There's no two ways about it. This is an exhibition as they take their tally now up to 32 points to Argentina's 6.
How good's Richie Mo'unga when he changes direction like that? Swept from the right-hand side, behind the ruck. Gets the ball delivered on a plate. He's got 4 defenders in front of him. Nobody knows where he's going to go. Double pump, shows and goes, makes the break through the middle, and then manful defence from that point on from Argentina to keep him out.
Certainly was. They just got him. He looked like he was going to go all the way. It was a really good tackle at the back by Cruz Malia, but then they just went to work again, the All Blacks. Battered away. They showed some resistance, Argentina, but eventually they just ran out of tempo. And Frizzell, too strong that close to the line, just powered his way through 2 tacklers, got the ball down on the chalk.
Well, they're just waiting for Richie Mo'unga to line up this conversion. He's still got 30 seconds on the clock, and he can take all the time he wants. The All Blacks are just now totally in cruise control now. They're going to be making a change here. The All Blacks will just confirm that one as we just watch the conversion go through the post there by Mo'unga. And there we go. Argentina 6, New Zealand 34. And here come a few changes then. They're actually Argentinian changes. I can see coming off the field is Gonzalo Bertranu. Also a change there as we see Francisco Gomez, Cordello coming off as well. Coming onto the field for them, Bazan Velez And they're also bringing on a tight head in the form of Eduardo Bello. So changes are starting as Argentina try to inspire something, and New Zealand just look to completely stamp their authority. It's Sony Takiaho who's on for New Zealand now, as it was Cody Taylor who made his way off. And we said these changes that are going to happen for New Zealand now, they will already be thinking about that World Cup final next week. You can't help it, can you, Justin Marshall?
No, certainly not. Obviously, they'll still be thinking about task at hand, but now Ian Foster possibly starting to think about how he uses his benches. He's already shown that Takiaho on the field, and I would imagine McKenzie and Co will get a go tonight as well.
Right then, Argentina 6, New Zealand 34, 50 minutes then into this World Cup semi-final, and the big discussion off the back of this, with Argentina ultimately struggling against the power of the All Blacks, as we just see another knock on there by Carreras as they attack inside of All Black territory. The discussion is going to be, Paul Grayson, this is the two halves of the draw coming together. This is what you were speaking about at half-time, and will we ever see this again? There's going to be a big announcement by World Rugby next week about the draw for 2027. There's no way it's going to be as early as it was this time.
Well, yeah, the two sides of the draw collide. Well, they haven't really collided, have they? It's just like a gentle brushing impact. Yeah, and the quarter-final weekend was absolutely off the charts because every game was evenly matched, down to a point. The very best teams in the world. The New Zealand All Blacks against Ireland. Ireland will be watching this game thinking, oh man,
yeah,
if we could have squeaked by the All Blacks last week, 2 points from somewhere to get into this, because I've no doubt that Ireland would 100% back themselves to be doing a job on Argentina tonight, because the difference in quality is there for everybody to see. I'm not saying it pays forward necessarily to tomorrow night, but what we expected to happen tonight is happening.
Now the Mexican wave has just gone round the crowd, and I heard a big cheer going up, and I thought it was because Sam Cane had come on the screen, but no, it's because of the Mexican wave. But on Sam Cane, Justin Marshall, how much has perception changed of him in New Zealand off the back of this one World Cup? Because he hasn't been a loved captain coming into this tournament.
He's been an under-pressure captain, and that's been due to the fluctuations of the All Blacks form and the inconsistency. And usually the first two that come under scrutiny when that happens is the coach and the captain, and rightly so. And then people start questioning selection because they start looking at whether or not a captain deserves his spot. Is he playing well enough? I certainly feel that his tournament, right from the outset, obviously he missed the first one, pulled out late against France, but ever since then he's looked fit, he's looked up for it, and he's led this team fantastically, and he's reinforced why Ian Foster believes in him, and it's been brilliant. And I think the perception in New Zealand has changed big time. They are now believers.
Well, Sam Cane was saying in his press conference this week when the team was made, they knew that turning up to this match, it was another final, because ultimately when you wake up on Monday morning, you're going to be playing rugby next week. One of the matches is a World Cup final, and the other prospect is horrible. It's called a third, fourth playoff. No one wants to be in that, as the All Blacks come away with the ball finally from the scrum. Jordan has it out on the far side. He goes over the halfway. Support eventually arrives in the form of Rieko Ioane to try and tidy that up, but referee says no, he's going to bring it back for the earlier penalty. All the way back to where the scrum was, as the rain is starting to fall here in the Stade de France, as I have to say, Argentinian heads are down.
Yeah, they are down. The rain fell quite heavily during the warm-up, and at one point Ian Foster was stood on the pitch and he had an umbrella up, and there was a close-up of him holding his umbrella as the rain fell, and for a minute England football fans will know what I'm talking about. I thought, oh no, I hope that's not the picture that comes back to haunt him. Absolutely the opposite. All Blacks completely in control. Rain or not, they play some scintillating rugby.
Yeah, it was a very brooding shot.
I think the other side of what we're talking about was that one of the big questions I had leading into this semi-final weekend was how the pool play that played out in Marseille was going to adapt to the top four teams in the world and the other side of the draw playing in Paris in terms of tempo, accuracy, physicality, and to me Argentina have been off in all of those areas, and it's just got to show that when you have the top four teams in the world basically inseparable, where the other teams are physically, mentally and everything else is really important.
Well, from that All Black scrum where they won the penalty, they kicked it down the near side left, and they've managed to win the ball from the line out. Really nice soft hands there by Takiaho for his first line out throw, and they're now going up the guts of the park. Argentina throwing themselves over the top. They want to try and get the ball back, not to be. Tackles raining down now on the All Blacks, who are a good 15-20 metres out now from the Argentinian line, but their commanding lead after 5 tries already in this semi-final sees them lead here at the Stade de France 34 points to 6. We've still got 17 minutes to play in this. Sorry, 27 minutes still to play. That long we've still got to go for Argentina to try and save some face ultimately, but you feel it's inevitable that New Zealand are working their way to a 5th World Cup final. Ball down on the floor, it's still New Zealand ball. 6 phases they work their way through as Frizzell, who's already got a couple of tries this evening. He's on for the hat-trick if he can find a way to the line as they push towards the far side. And finally the Argentinian fans get to their feet. They are dancing, they're shouting, football-styley to try and get their team some kind of confidence to try and work their way back down the field. On it, though, it's New Zealand ball, and it is worth saying at half-time the penalty count was 3 for New Zealand, 8 for Argentina. Those kind of numbers at half-time are really painful to watch, particularly if you're a coach. It means you haven't quite won any kind of heart or mind of the referee. Means the discipline has been bad as it gets spun out this time to Jordi Barrett, Hurricane centre. He also missed that opening game against France when he picked up a bit of a knee injury. He's come back absolutely firing since he's been back playing in the black shirt. Little bit of footwork on this near side by Ardi Surveyor, playing in his 2nd Rugby World Cup, 80th cap today, down on the floor 5 metres from this near side. And there's no panic here from New Zealand. They've already worked through 14 phases. You can see Aaron Smith is just appealing away at our referee, saying, help me out here, I can't get that ball. Angus Gardner is saying, get on with it, which we all appreciate sometimes, as a nice little bit of a pirouette comes in from Ardi Surveyor. Manages to keep his feet in play as the rain continues to fall at the Stade de France. Huge run out there as a crossfield kick comes in now by Jordi Barrett. Racing onto it is Will Jordan. He can't quite get the connection. Has he knocked it on in the process? Yes, he has. We'll restart with an Argentinian scrum. And just for a change, after all that huff and puff and bluster, the All Blacks haven't got anything.
No, they haven't, but they almost pulled off a miracle try because the hands from Ethan de Groot, who wasn't expecting the ball, to be able to then take and give to get it to Jordi Barrett, and for him to instantly know that there's space out wide, turns and launches it crossfield for Will Jordan. Everybody exactly on the same page. They know where the space is and how to get it there. Nearly but not quite. But how good has the move been from fullback to 12 for New Zealand? Jordi Barrett moving up.
Yeah, it's been really important. Many felt that was his best position, and he certainly made those comments very true. Big, strong, 6'5" basically, and really methodical in the way that he goes about carrying the ball. His routine is very good, and that switch has been exceptional. And speaking of switch, we've had a real big clean out on the substitute bench, haven't we? So,
yeah, as expected, the cavalry is now on now for New Zealand. They know that this game is pretty much wrapped up, which is an incredible thing to say, with 25 minutes still to play of a semi-final of a World Cup. New Zealand 34, Argentina 6, but they can roll the dice now. They can use that bench in their armoury ahead of what is to come next week. They've brought on Tamati Williams, Fletcher Newell, so it's a completely fresh front row. They've also given time on the field to Finlay Christie and Damien McKenzie. You didn't get any minutes at all off the bench in the quarter-final as Argentina try to work away down the left-hand side. They're punching a few holes, which is good, but they're still stuck inside of their half of the field. Santiago Carreras, crossfield kicks, trying to get Buffelli on the end of it, and he connects well. Put back inside to Carreras. This is nice from Argentina, but they're isolated on this wing. There's plenty of black shirts to try and stop them. Has Buffelli knocked on the ball? Play on, says the referee. They're in the middle of the field. This is better from Argentina. Now we've got a penalty advantage to Argentina. That's been a rare thing we've not seen. It's right in front of the post, but that means nothing. They've got to do something else.
Mateo Carreras, Argentina's left winger, pocket rocket, makes the initial break down the left-hand side, and then they sweep it out to the right. Crossfield kick. Buffelli looked for a second like he was going to let it bounce, and then he just
So what are you doing, mate?
hit the afterburners to make sure he got the catch. Mark Talea, whether he was lucky or not there, chanced his arm, almost killed the ball. It would have been a yellow card if the referee thought it was a penalty, but enterprising stuff from Argentina.
Justin, just on that, how much do you think that the substitutes coming on in that moment, maybe they haven't quite settled?
Yeah, I don't think they have. That was Finlay Christie that got a little bit caught out there, which allowed Argentina to get the breakout. And it just sometimes takes a little bit of time to adapt to the tempo of the game. I think Argentina were unlucky there. The worst person they had chasing back was Rico Ioane. He's the quickest in the All Blacks. Saved the day.
Big moment for Argentina. This place will go bananas if they score. It's a line out for them, and they've already been pushed back. They're not going in the right direction at all. Montoya has to break out from the base. He's still got hold of the ball as All Blacks just try and slow him down. 10 metres for Argentina to travel. The new scrum half on the field, Bazan Velez. He gets brought down to the earth. Bazan Velez looks up once again. He's looking for more big men in the form of the forwards. Eventually they arrive. Options on the left-hand side of the field as they keep trucking in that direction. Gonzalez of Saracens, he goes forward. Once again, it's Montoya, the captain, who is entrusted with the ball, but Argentina, they are just not finding any space. It's just a complete wall of black that is coming up against them every single time. Kramer, he can't find a way. I mean, it's not even over the gain line at the moment, as we see Thomas Garlow just almost sliding across the black line into the tackles, and the ball is knocked on in the end. Argentina cannot find a way at all. As they knock on the ball, we'll restart with an All Black scrum.
His scrum mark.
Shame for Argentina there with the breakout from their own half, and then they're on attack. It was a good carry at the end by the replacement prop, showing the energy that you want. Unfortunately, made a mess of their basic skills. It's the exact opposite from the All Blacks. Technically, they were unbelievably good last week. We've seen a lot of the same tonight. Justin,
certainly have, and I think last week it's the first time I've seen Ireland rattled at the breakdown, and they conceded quite a few turnovers, and they didn't have ascendancy there. That's simply been the case this evening as well. The work the All Blacks have done when they've been carrying the ball of cleaning out the Argentinian players who are very good over the ball and extricating them from being a problem has been exceptional. And equally, when they've needed a turnover, they've needed to counteract like they did then. Samisoni Taukei'aho came through when they were on a little bit of momentum roll. Argentina, bang, win the breakdown, turn the ball over. It's been a big positive for the All Blacks, particularly in the last two games from what I've seen.
Well, here we go, an All Black scrum inside of their 22. They've got for 4 men on the left, they've gone 2 on the right. As Finlay Christie finally gets to get involved in a little bit of action. Finlay Christie, of course, he was actually born in Scotland. He would have been eligible to play for Gregor Townsend's side, but he moved to New Zealand at the age of 7. Bided his time and is now getting his opportunity. A lot of discussion over whether it will be Christie or Roygaard who's really going to be the one who takes over the mantle from Aaron Smith, who is now 34 years old. Unlikely he'd get to another World Cup, although, as we rightly say, we don't like to write off players in their mid-30s too early, as we get another penalty for New Zealand in the middle of the field. They're not going to be in a rush to take that. What do you think? How long can Aaron Smith keep going?
He's off to Japan, so he's done, and the New Zealand have the policy of not picking players who play outside of New Zealand for the All Blacks. So yeah, this is the last time I think we'll see Aaron Smith in an All Black jersey. He's moving the family and going on to greener pastures, but what a servant he has been, and he's going to be very hard to replace, believe me, regardless of the quality the All Blacks have got coming through. Christie, Roygaard, you think of Fakatava that was left behind as well, but Aaron Smith, wow, what a player.
And when it comes to Roygaard and Christie, who do you think's put their hand up most?
I think probably Roygaard is the type of player that will supersede Finlay Christie eventually, but Finlay Christie at the moment is being preferred, so Roygaard's got all the work to do.
I think Christie, I know Aaron Smith's small, but in stature, as a player, he's massive. Finlay Christie's like a mini-me, very similar. Looks like he's almost just copycat. This is how the best player, the best scrum half of his generation. Aaron Smith plays, I'm going to do that. Roygaard a little bit more of a running threat, potentially.
Yeah, Aaron Smith, the most capped scrum half of all time for New Zealand as the ball goes down to the floor. Mark Telaire now has it as he punches a hole inside of the Argentinian 22. Argentina 6, New Zealand 34. Still 20 minutes to play of this World Cup semi-final here on 5 Live Sport. Don't forget, if this is going to be New Zealand heading to a final, who are they going to play? Find out tomorrow at 8 o'clock. England against South Africa, right back here at the Stade de France, as New Zealand just roll their way back round the corner, stringing together the phases again. Anton Leonard-Brown now on the field. He wants a little bit of the ball. Christie goes in to gather. Calm heads waiting out alongside them. Takiaho, he manages to get his hands on the ball. Christie once again to Frizzell. Oh, it's a little bit of a breakthrough there, and that a chime by Tamati Williams. This time Damian McKenzie with a spin out wide to Talea. He's got 2 Argentinian shirts saying, okay, let's go. And he's still trying to hold it up. Eventually it comes out to Will Jordan. Nice little pop down in the corner. Try number 6 for the All Blacks, who have just gone closing in now on 40 points. It's now 39 to the All Blacks, 6 to Argentina.
The quality of handling from the New Zealand forwards is exceptional. I know it's something that they worked on kind of post 2007 after a World Cup disappointment, moved the game forward and gives them ability to find space where there isn't space, just that one extra pass, but not a cumbersome pass. It's flat at the line to hard ball carriers time and time again. And eventually, actually, it was an unnecessary skip pass, wasn't it, from Damian McKenzie that stopped it being a perfect finish first time, but inevitable.
It certainly was. And when you break the line like that, Frizzell onto Tamati Williams, and you concede 10 metres, you can never get back. You're scrambling and get onto the front foot, which the All Blacks did. Really good option from Christie. Will Jordan untouched. He could have hit either one. He went for the latter, and Will Jordan will be thankful for it because his try scoring record is freakish. Absolutely freakish. He's more tries than test matches, isn't he?
He was closing in on that, and he might nearly be there because he's now gone over for 7 tries at this Rugby World Cup, and that means he's the leading try scorer now. He's overtaken Damian Penaud, who was on 6, and he's got 2 now. As we just watched Richie Mwanga send that one just to the side, how much do the players quietly, particularly if they're wingers, really want that to be the highest try scorer at a tournament? Do they care deep down? Do they keep it quietly to themselves? How much is it actually spoken about?
I've never met one winger who isn't entirely bothered about how many tries they've scored. Now,
I'm with you.
You look at Mark Talea's output tonight. He's been all over the field, but he'll be looking at a couple of walk-ins for Will Jordan and thinking, hang on a minute.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we had Chris Ashton here with us this evening, he would be able to add to this discussion in spades. But for now, it's Argentina 6, New Zealand 39, 63 minutes played. And if you are an Argentinian fan, you've given up hiding behind the sofa. You've probably just gone next door because I don't know if you can watch this much more. The big discussion off the back of this, as I said, there's going to be an announcement by World Rugby next week. All of the big wigs across all the chief executives of all the unions in the world are having huge meetings, and one of the discussion points they have to agree on is when the pools will be pulled for the next World Cup in 2027. Now, all the discussion was that it was only a year after the last World Cup that this one was drawn, and you had this sort of over 2.5-year build-up where all of the world rankings changed, and it's caused this sort of lopsided moment that we're witnessing slightly now. And we'll find out next week if they have managed to shift that. Everyone is expecting that should happen, as Argentina have managed to track all the way back now inside of their own 22, 10 metres now from their own line. They've got to try and play for a bit of pride here, because the scoreline is a little bit of a difficult one to swallow. Down on the ground, ball comes back, a little bit of a show and go here by the Argentinians inside of their own half. Nobody wants to clear the ball, and oh my goodness, they've given an accidental forward pass in the process of being unable to clear this. It's quite hard to watch Argentina. It's almost like they've pressed the self-destruct button.
7.
Well, they're trapped in the game, aren't they? They're being dominated. The All Blacks taking a few more chances, few little chips and chases. Brodie Retallick slinging a 25-metre ball over the top. So they're I'm not saying they're going off script, but they're loose as a goose and just enjoying themselves. The flip side is Argentina, every time you glance up at the scoreboard, you're 39-6 down, just looking to take something positive out of the game, and nothing's going your way. It's a horrible place to be.
Well, perhaps in a small moment, we're just going to listen to TMO.
Hand slapping the ball down by 5 Black. Here's the best angle now.
Well, 5 Black is Scott Barrett. And
when
they're just going to show
we
on
just
the
put
big
the angles
screen.
up to you now, Gussie. Here it comes.
I bet there's a massive boo if he shows this to be a deliberate knock-on. Barrett's going to get it from the crowd.
Well, it's an interesting one because there's been a lot of debate around deliberate knock-ons in this World Cup about the different decisions that referees have made. So Barrett is down on the floor, and we just see him put his arm out,
come back to me,
which he can't do when he's lying on the floor.
And he touches that, Whitey? Yeah, okay. Number 5, cynical on the floor.
Well, that's an easy yellow card that Scott Barrett has given away, and in the position that New Zealand are in, he really did not have to do that.
Yeah, I would not like to be Scott Barrett, regardless of the result and how well he's played, when he walks into the changing room after the game and has to confront Ian Foster, because those are the sorts of things in big games. Yes, the scoreboard's obviously quite comfortable now, but give away penalties like that and unnecessarily, you feel the wrath from the coach, believe me, big time.
What was he doing?
He had a bit of a good old-fashioned brain explosion. They don't happen very often, but it was certainly that case then.
And let us not forget, Ian Foster probably has a piece of paper somewhere that he's starting to fill in for a team sheet for next week. It's a World Cup final. It's not the time to fall out with the coach, is it?
Scott Barrett's name will be on it, but
where?
He will get a few stern words, I'd imagine.
Right then, ball comes in by Augustin Creevy, 107 caps for Argentina, now onto the field. He was actually the first Argentine player to ever get to 100 caps. He's now playing in his 4th Rugby World Cup. He's actually got a year at Sale ahead of him when he has finished this tournament. Fans up north looking to see him. He's got another game next week. At the moment, that's a 3rd, 4th playoff. Will it be South Africa? Will it be England? Find out tomorrow at 8 o'clock on 5 Live Sport. And of course, if you want to keep across everything that is going on at this tournament, do head to the Rugby Union Daily podcast. You can download it on BBC Sounds. And if that's not enough for you, if you don't want enough sort of England-South Africa build-up, don't forget there's that match also tomorrow in the Cricket World Cup as well. There's going to be commentary of that one on 5 Sports Extra that gets underway at 9 a.m. And of course, you can also get the TMS Daily Podcast that's going at the moment. We are podcast-tastic. That's all you need to know. Right then, ball goes away down this near side. And Paul Grayson, you were on the Rugby Union Daily Podcast, chatting away to Ben Earl, who was an excited little squirrel, wasn't he, ahead of tomorrow's World Cup semi-final. And you did get a feeling that everyone's beginning to think that England could do something in that match.
Yeah, he's quite a big squirrel, actually, Ben. Just the joy of a young person in a magical situation, playing a World Cup semi-final. All positive, just looking forward to the occasion and giving it absolutely everything. You suspect semi-finals generally go, one blowout, one unbelievably tight contest. Well, we've seen one of those tonight. Time for the other.
New Zealand 39, Argentina 6, but New Zealand down to 14 with Scott Barrett in the bin. Argentina on the attack just outside of the All Blacks 22. It's loose ball on the floor. Richie Moana goes in to gather. He's been quickly wrapped up by a blue and white shirt and pushed backwards. That's better from the Argentinians, but it's still going to be a black ball. 10 metres from their own line. They need to try and clear this one. Working the hard yards going forward. Christie is there directing the forwards. Wants more to arrive. Eventually he can get the box kick away, and it's going to go out of play out on the far side. Not a huge amount of distance on it, but enough there to make them comfortable. Argentina will have the line out, far side of the field, between the 10 and the 22. And you do just feel if they're going to fire any kind of shot in this match entirely, this is their moment to do it with New Zealand down to 14.
Yeah, completely. Full field, go for broke. Try and get into your attacking shape. There will be a gap eventually because they are one man light. You don't want to finish on a whimper.
Right then, here come Argentina. They've got the extra man in the backfield. Going through there is Sanchez, who's now onto the field. Ball comes back once again. Sanchez still on the ball, pops it back off to his friend who appears on his left-hand shoulder. Still Argentinian ball. It's really slow for them. They normally pride themselves on the speed that they can recycle and go once again. They're stuck on the All Blacks 22 for the time being. They pick, they go round the corner. A little bit of bulk comes forward in the form of Scalvi, and he knocks on the ball in the process. So Damien McKenzie goes, all right, I'll hoover this up for you. Let's shift. Let's go out towards the far side of the field. Mwanga is out there, flies it down the far side, forces the Argentinian backfield to have to turn to go and gather the ball because they weren't there in the first place. Huge right boot comes in from Buffelli to send it back. But again, all of the effort, all of the opportunity for Argentina comes to absolutely nothing. Back inside of their own half, and it's an All Black line-out.
I wonder what the Argentinian mindset is now, knowing that they've got another game next week. This was their chance to fire their shot. They haven't. It's gone against them. They're going to lose by a distance, then they've got to pull their socks up and gather themselves for a third, fourth playoff next week. That's tough.
Well, the DJ has started playing the music whilst the game is going on to try and G up this crowd, to try and get them a bit more involved in it. We were sort of saying at halftime, sometimes on a weekend like this, you can get a big group of a rugby team coming together for a big weekend away. You feel it's a little bit of a lot of people having a nice weekend in Paris, being a little bit too polite about it at times. Don't always used to that with rugby crowds, as the ball goes down to the ground once again, knocked on as we approach 10 minutes to go in this semi-final. 10 minutes for Argentina to get through and then go and hide in the changing rooms.
Yeah, unfortunately the DJ was trying to crank the crowd up simply because the game is now just inevitably going to play its way out, with the All Blacks comfortably going to win. Argentina are really struggling to get anything going. They can't really penetrate this very good All Black defence. And I guess many people that were here last weekend have come along possibly as neutrals, or probably more importantly supporting Argentina. But the intensity and the drama of those games has just not eventuated here. So you've gone from a massive sense of euphoria to a foregone conclusion, which is never easy to get yourself excited about.
But from an All Blacks point of view,
exactly what they want.
Going forward, it's like game over in half an hour. Low intensity, get some energy back in the legs, conserve yourself for a World Cup final when they'll no doubt need everything they've got. So ideal, really. They did a job on Argentina in that first half, and they'll enjoy the spoils of it next week.
Well, Argentina do have the ball at the moment, and I can tell you there are quite a few fans now are making their way to the exits here inside of the Stade de France. Such is the lopsided outcome of this fixture. Argentina 6, New Zealand 39. We're closing in now on 8 minutes to go until the full-time whistle, as the ball bobbles out of play out on the far side of the field. It's going to be an Argentina line-out right inside of their own 22. So they've got to get themselves out of some real porridge here. They tried to take it quickly. The referee has let them play. They weren't interested in going in for the line out there, so Bazan Velez manages to spin the ball out. He was alive to the opportunity there. A little bit of shoring up comes in there by Brunei. He's also got support then from Scalvi, the La Rochelle prop, and they work their way down. Still 3 minutes on this sin bin for New Zealand after Scott Barrett got himself well and truly told off for lying on the floor and slapping the ball down out on the far side. Now New Zealand have taken a quick line out on the far side, and Damien McKenzie tries to get himself on the ball. In the end, it's run forward by Christie. No scrum half there at the moment, so McKenzie now back on the full, playing in that first receiver position, just pushing Mwanga outside him. Comes back now to Bazan Velez. He decides to hack on the ball. He's going to just bobble out of play out on the far side. And you can hear there the referee just having a little bit of a chat away. It's going to be a New Zealand opportunity to clear their way back down the other end of the field, as Argentina, as soon as they just make a bit of ground, it's going to be All Black ball.
Pre-planned call there between McKenzie in at first receiver and Richie Mwanga at second, sprinting on for a chip in behind. Stay there. He had Facundo, was it Issa or Kremer in his way, who wasn't for moving, landed up on his backside, Mwanga.
Okay, breakaway here by New Zealand. The ball's going to be hacked on. It's Will Jordan. He's already got 7 tries in this World Cup. The bounce of the ball's a beauty. He goes over. Absolutely glorious. What a night to be Will Jordan. He's managed to go over 3 times. He's the leading tournament try scorer, and this is an absolute rout now by New Zealand, who lead by 44 points to Argentina 6.
Well, if you remember back to last week, Richie Mwanga and Will Jordan orchestrated something from set piece. Again, this was an inside pass to Will Jordan inside his own 22. He broke out, found himself in a huge amount of space, little inside pass, and away he went. He just then had 2 to 3 Argentinian players converging on him, decided not to go to the support players, chipped over the top, and when you're on, and he is on. The bounce of the ball will always land in your lap, and it would prove to be so. Jordan, 8 tries for the tournament. How good?
Well, I've been passed a piece of paper, and I can tell you we're talking about records, we're talking about statistics, we're talking about history here, the way that the All Blacks have played this game. The biggest margin of victory in a Rugby World Cup semi-final is 43 points. That was New Zealand against Wales back in 1987. So as it stands at the moment, they've got 38 points between them and Argentina. This kick from Richie Mo'unga will increase that to 40, means it will just be 3 more for them to get the record. So here comes Mo'unga with the conversion. That goes into the Paris sky. That one has missed. So at the moment, they still have 5 more points to go to get the record. Now, they won't care about that at all. They have absolutely no idea. But that's just a demonstration of how unbelievably well they have played, how poorly Argentina have been prepared for this match, but also, again, we'll say it one last time, how lopsided this draw has been.
Yeah, we won't take it away from New Zealand and put it on a lacklustre performance from Argentina. New Zealand have been excellent from the off, kept their foot on the gas to the point where the game has gone. And even then, they're still scoring tries from their own 22. I would just say to you, Marshy, Richie Mo'unga off the tee tonight looked a little bit
Yeah, he's
loose.
just been off, hasn't he? Totally agree, Paul. Yeah, he's not been his usual accurate self. He was very good last week, but just seems to not be in motion and fluid. He seems to be not sort of following through and really striking the ball as nice as what he would like. So yeah, if you're going to be critical, you know, big games tighter than this.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be making those, don't you?
That's
You
all
very
I can
well
find,
know.
yeah.
Right then, the time is up on the Scott Barrett sin bin. He's still off the field at the moment, so they've brought someone else on. I can only assume that it is Papali'i that they brought onto the field, so they might have just slightly shuffled things around in there. It is Argentina 6, New Zealand 44. What an incredible scoreline that is, as we now close in on 76 minutes. New Zealand on the ball inside of their own half of the field. Wait for it to be spun out in the end. A little bit of scrum half work going in there by Tamati Williams. That's what we like to see. If you're just joining us on 5 Live, it's Argentina with a breakaway down the far side. Not to be on that occasion, but it has been an absolute masterclass this evening by the All Blacks, who have turned up in spades to show why they would like to be the world #1 side by the end of this weekend. They'll be able to be that if South Africa lose to England, as we get another little breakaway for the Pumas down this near right-hand side. Read really well in the end by the All Blacks, who pushed them back. Hacked on ball this time through Malia, and it does bobble out of play really nicely there. 5 metres to go, so New Zealand now got to defend 5 metres from their line as the DJ goes for an old French classic to see if he can get a few more of the crowd involved. Do you recognise it, Paul Grayson?
Sounds pretty good. I don't know what it is.
Right then, here we go. All Black line out, short numbers, just 4 men in there. They managed to get it back down, and yes, there you go. You can definitely hear the French who are in the crowd tonight getting involved. Adi Surveyor running himself away from any kind of danger. Takes about 17 Argentinians. They need a couple off the bench to bring him down. That's how big a man mountain that he has been. He's had an incredible World Cup as Mo'unga sends it towards this near side, goes out of play. We'll restart then with an Argentinian line out. They can't take a quick one because the ball's gone out of play over the advertising hoardings. Just on the kicking, there's options for New Zealand when it comes for kicking at goal. You've got Beauden Barrett, you've got Geordie Barrett. On the bench, you've also got Damien McKenzie. Do you think they would take it automatically away from Mo'unga, or can you not take too much in this game because it's been so one-sided?
I think you probably wouldn't blame him for an off night. Different circumstances, they may look at replacing him, but I think tonight it's just been so foregone conclusion that they were going to win the game that the points probably haven't mattered, and he's probably maybe lost his concentration a little bit this evening.
The voice of Justin Marshall here with us on 5 Live, former All Black scrum half, also alongside 2003 World Cup winner with England, Paul Grayson. And Paul will be back here with us tomorrow night for that match between England and South Africa, alongside Chris Jones, Matt Dawson and Bobby Skinstad. Right then, minute and a half to go in this semi-final. Huge tackle going in there by Jordi Barrett on Argentina. Was it late? The crowd didn't like it. I think it was pretty well timed, to be honest, as New Zealand continued to play on, as he's trying to get the Argentinian player back off the floor. New Zealand have hacked it down the field. It goes out of play on this near side. We're going to finally see out this game in the end. It's going to be with an it's a 50-22 as well. Oh my goodness, Argentina's night just got worse. It's Nicolas Sanchez, everyone's favourite Argentinian player, who went down as well, that Barrett absolutely smashed. I mean, nothing has gone Argentina's way tonight, nothing.
No, they went with the ball out of the back. Barrett gambled, went on the blitz. He didn't quite get there, but he was totally committed to the tackle as Sanchez managed to get it and get rid. Solid hit from the very tall New Zealand inside centre, just bounced Sanchez's shoulder, which was sore for a minute, but no harm done. He's back on his feet.
Okay, Samisoni Takiaho, we're in the final minute of the semi-final. It's been an absolute demolition job by New Zealand. Can they see it off now? Takiaho with the lovely soft hands. Christie passes it out to Barrett. McKenzie now with a shuffle. Oh, brilliant pass away in the end to Mwanga. Is he not going to pass out wide? Jordan was calling for it. He could have gone in for a fourth so easily. Don't watch that one in the replay. Takiaho goes once again. Still New Zealand ball, still 10 seconds to play until the clock goes red. They'll keep playing until it's ended. It's gone forwards here. There's still time to reset for the scrum. What was Mwanga thinking?
I think he saw the opportunity himself, but very resilient Argentinian defence cut him down just short of the line. But absolutely, regardless of what picture that was painted in front of him, what he thought was the best option, he took the wrong one. The pass to Jordan, who was free and clear, was what was the option to take, and Mwanga didn't. And Will Jordan, unfortunately, stays on 8 tries.
It was another walk-in, wasn't it, for Jordan? Anyway, it gives Ian Foster something to slam his players about to get them motivated for next week. They made 2 mistakes, terrible.
He did knock on the ball as well, so that's 3. 3 mistakes.
They're piling up.
They are, they really are. Oh my goodness, what a fixture we have seen then this evening, as the Argentina fans just try and urge on their side to something, anything, in the closing moments of this match. The ball is in, it's Argentinian ball, and they are going to play. There's no way they're going to kick this off the field. They're going to try and get something, some kind of change from this fixture, which has been really quite humbling for them, let's face it. New Zealand, they're defending at the moment inside of the Argentinian half, just outside of the Argentinian 22, as the blue and white shirts of the South Americans have no choice but to go forward. They can't kick it out of play. They just have to try and find a way. Sanchez with a little kick over the top. It's gathered by Jordan, pops it back inside. McKenzie just needs to get it off the field. The All Blacks are still playing. They don't need to. They're risking an injury at this point. Will Jordan manages to find a little bit more space. In the end, coming through the middle of it is Jordi Barrett. Finlay Christie, he pops off the ball. And the ball is eventually locked on, so that's a 4th mistake there for the All Blacks. Argentina gather it off the floor. We continue playing. We're well into the red here. Argentina, Creevy has it towards this near side. Popped off ball to Buffelli once again. Big hands coming in from Mark Talea, who's trying to drag Buffelli towards this near side touch. He's not going to go. Bazan Velez of Rovigo spins out the ball, manages to find Kramer. Playing in his 2nd World Cup, he's not going to forget this match anytime soon. It's a 3rd, 4th playoff that beckons now for Argentina. Run round the corner goes Bazan Velez on the far side. Oh, huge hit going in there. Question about how low Finlay Christie was in that contact. You heard that came through the referee's microphone. Hacked on ball here by New Zealand. They're still going. They've got the ball at the right end of the field. It's Anton Leonard-Brown who was there. He came over the top of the ball. The ruck hadn't formed, so there was no offside position, so Argentina have to play on. It's absolute mess now. The referee is going to blow his whistle. It is an Argentinian penalty. We are now on nearly 83 minutes. Argentina are still going. The collision that happened in the middle of the field, the players are only just getting to their feet. All of the Argentinian fans rise here in the Stade de France. There is a point, put them out of their misery.
Yeah, there is, and obviously they can see that, you know, they've put in a valiant effort. They've just been outclassed this evening. They've tried really hard, but nothing has really come off for them. But equally, how impressive the All Blacks. They could easily finish this game if they wanted to, and Richie Mo'unga is going to do that exactly as Argentina mistouched. Story of their night, really.
There goes the whistle. The All Blacks are in the final. Their dream of the 4th title is still alive. And Argentina once again fail at the semi-final stage for a 3rd time. But what a night for the All Blacks. What a performance. It finishes here at the Stade de France. New Zealand 44, Argentina 6.
Thanks, Sarah. Yep, that's a bit of All Black magic here, isn't it, in Paris this evening, as they claim a 5th World Cup final, chasing the Webb Ellis Trophy for the 4th time. Justin Marshall, they really didn't have to get out of 2nd gear, did they?
Well, I certainly think that they were in 1st gear right from kick-off. Looked every bit like they wanted to have the intent to play. They were accurate again, particularly at breakdown. And then as the game wore on, they got really, really good at set piece. Their line-out started to cause problems for Argentina. Their scrum in particular, when they got that going, they won penalties from it. They scored a try from it through Aaron Smith. They did as much as they needed to do and still kept enough pressure on Argentina, but they didn't allow them back into the game. They'll be pleased with the way they performed this evening.
Paul, halfway through the 2nd half there, we had a Mexican wave, didn't we? And that kind of said it all. We've got to be brutal about this. This crowd was really flat. You know, if you, and we'll talk a little bit more about New Zealand, how brilliant they were before we go off air at 10 o'clock. Stephen Nolan is waiting in the wings to follow us. If you look at this game from the broader picture, give it the broader brushstroke, what does that say? You know, it wasn't a good advert for the game, really, was it? At this stage of a World Cup.
No, and after the, as we've touched on, after the absolute brilliance of the quarterfinals, there's no greater display of the disparity in the two sides of the draw than this fixture here. Justin said to us that the crowds like this, you get them in New Zealand, you get them at Eden Park when the All Blacks are 25 points up. There's people watching a game of rugby, they're just, the outcome is inevitable, and we knew that was happening. Half an hour in, the game was gone from Argentina because the difference between the two teams was so stark. And as much as we have commented on the draw and that it was done so far before the tournament, and it's a mess of World Rugby's making, that is the one thing that they will have feared, an absolute blowout like that.
And just on that, Sonia, we've mentioned a few times that World Rugby make their announcement next week about 2027, but it does actually put a little bit more pressure on England actually tomorrow to actually turn up and put in a shift to make this a decent semi-final. So this weekend isn't actually viewed as a complete damp squid compared to the absolute glory that we saw in the quarterfinals last weekend.
Justin, there was about 10 seconds to go in that game. And Ian Foster was already shaking hands with Joe Schmidt, his coaching team. He was saying, well done, great, we're in the final. What will this actually mean to him? Because, you know, this time almost a year ago, he was on the cusp of losing his job. He knows actually Scott Robertson from the Crusaders is coming in to replace him. Is this vindication for him?
I think it is, and it'll feel good because, you know, he did suffer quite a lot of negative feedback. He had to fight for his job. But the biggest support that he got out of anybody, ironically, was from his players. It was only when the senior players stood up after the test match at Ellis Park in South Africa, when there was going to be a review by the New Zealand Rugby Union into his job, where they said, we trust our coach, he is our coach. And the New Zealand Rugby Union did an about turn. And that's reinforcement that your players believe in what you can bring to this team and how you're going to coach them to be able to take them through to get to a final of the Rugby World Cup. And that's all played out perfectly for everybody involved in that decision.
What if he goes on and wins the pot? You know, is that just going to be so embarrassing for the New Zealand Rugby Union that they've kind of got rid of the man who's led the team to a 4th world title?
And that was always the biggest talking point about making that decision so early. I think basically what New Zealand registered was the fact that if they don't make the decision now, they're probably very likely to possibly not only maybe lose Ian Foster because he's had enough, but equally his successor in Scott Robertson, who was being rumoured to be looked at by other international teams. So I think that's why they had to pull the trigger when they did. Never nice as a coach going into a World Cup, knowing that you're not going to have a job regardless of where you take the team to as you go into the tournament, and that could, like you say, very well be the case.
The biggest shock of the evening is that Will Jordan isn't man of the match. Geordie Barrett is. Despite a hat-trick, it's gone to one of the Barrett brothers. Paul, we just saw Dan Carter hand over the Player of the Match tournament to Geordie Barrett. Now, he was part of that All Blacks team of 2011, 2015 that won back-to-back titles. No team has ever done that, although the Springboks are trying to do that this time round. How close is this group of All Black players that we're seeing down on the pitch now, just giving each other hugs? How close are they to that great team from yesteryear?
It's always difficult to compare generations of players and the profile of teams, with a number of players coming to the end of their career. 2015, notably Dan Carter, which is pretty much he's one of those players who writes his own script, he was awesome in that final. This team are coming from a different place. They've had a very, very quick rebuild after the rocky patch that Justin's just been talking about, and the turmoil that probably caused to a certain degree by the NZRFU, reflected in their team's performance because there was instability at the top. Let's face it, it's not always the players' fault. Sometimes the messages you get can be unsettling. So in terms of kind of cleaning house and putting themselves back together for this tournament, I think we've just got to isolate them from any previous teams and say they're doing a brilliant job to put themselves back in position to win the World Cup.
Players from Argentina just forming a tunnel and applauding the All Blacks off the pitch. Big question marks for Michael Cheika and Argentina going forward. But I just want to throw ahead finally, Justin, to England against South Africa tomorrow. Sarah's mentioned it. We're hoping England can turn up and make a real go of it in this second half. Have to say, you're on a WhatsApp group with some of the real luminaries of world rugby, and Bobby Skinster actually gave me his phone last night and let me have a look at all the names that are on that list, and it was gobsmacking, just the sheer quality. And I noticed, I wasn't looking at your phone, I promise, but it popped up because it's right next to me. There's one from, you just had a text from Andrew Mertens, by the way, but you also had one from Mike Tyndall, who basically said, I think we've got this, which was a bit of black gallows humour from the former England centre. But in all seriousness, what do you make of England's chances against South Africa tomorrow in this second semi-final?
Well, put it this way, I preferred the All Blacks to have been on this side of the draw and face Argentina. I think England are a much more daunting challenge. You know, they've got, I think it's 11 players that have been to a World Cup final in 2019. So they've been there and they've done that. They're not going to be daunted by the prospect of an elimination game. They've got enough experience there, and they've got players that have been British and Irish Lions. So that they've got a lot more to give than what Argentina have. So I certainly think a warning shot across the bow, because they've not had the resistance that this side of the pool and those top four teams in the world has had, and I think Argentina found that out very quickly this evening. England will be sitting back watching this game thinking, right, oh yes, the tempo, the energy, the breakdown, everything's just slightly more 20 to 30% higher than what we've been experiencing in pool play and in the quarter-final. So they'll be thankful for getting the second game and seeing what happened to Argentina, because that'll help them in their prep. Not that they would have been doing not been doing their homework anyway.
I'm asking you to call it. Who wins the second semi-final and will face the All Blacks?
Because of what I've just said, I just feel that the shock of the tempo and physicality is going to hit them pretty quick. They'll stay in the fight, but I do think South Africa will edge it tomorrow.
Oh, I had a feeling you might say that. Okay.
I knew this was coming. We don't want to end on a downer, do we?